Imagine a scenario where time travel is possible, and you have a time machine. You decide to travel back in time to meet your grandfather when he was a young man. However, things take a dramatic turn. While you're in the past, you accidentally prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother. This means your parents were never born, and consequently, you were never born. Here's the twist. If you were never born, how could you have traveled back in time to prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother? If you never existed, you couldn't have gone back in time to create this situation in the first place. This creates a logical contradiction because your actions in the past seem to negate your own existence. This is known as the Grandfather Paradox. It's a classic problem in discussions about time travel and causality. The paradox challenges our understanding of cause and effect, and it raises questions about the consistency of time and the possibility of altering the past. To visualize this paradox, think of it like this. If you could go back and change events in a way that prevents your own existence, you create a situation where you shouldn't have been able to make those changes. This creates a paradox where the cause, your time travel, contradicts the effect, your existence. The Grandfather Paradox is not just a theoretical puzzle. It has significant implications for our understanding of time travel. If such time travel were possible, it could lead to contradictions and complex issues regarding causality and the flow of time. The Grandfather Paradox leads to intriguing questions about the nature of time and reality. If time travel to the past could result in such paradoxes, what does this mean for the possibility of traveling back in time? One common response to the paradox involves the concept of parallel universes or alternate timelines. According to this theory, if you were to travel back in time and alter events, you would create a new parallel timeline where the changes take place. In this new timeline, your actions would have prevented your own existence in that specific timeline, but it wouldn't affect the original timeline you came from. In this way, the Grandfather Paradox is resolved by suggesting that time travel creates branching timelines rather than altering a single, fixed timeline. Each timeline remains consistent within its own context, avoiding contradictions by separating the changes into different realities. Another approach to addressing the paradox is the idea of time loops or closed time-like curves. This theory suggests that events in the past are part of a closed loop, meaning that any actions you take when traveling back in time are already accounted for in the timeline. Essentially, you might find that you cannot change significant events in the past because they are already integrated into the timeline. In this view, the paradox is resolved by the idea that the timeline is self-consistent. Your actions, even if they seem to contradict the possibility of your existence, are part of a larger, unchangeable loop of events that doesn't allow for contradictions. The Grandfather Paradox also prompts discussions about the limitations of our understanding of time and causality. It challenges our intuitive notions of cause and effect and forces us to reconsider how we think about the flow of time and the possibility of altering past events. The Grandfather Paradox is more than just a philosophical puzzle. It has implications for various fields, including physics, philosophy, and even popular culture. The paradox stimulates discussions about the nature of time, causality, and the feasibility of time travel. In physics, the paradox raises questions about the consistency of physical laws and the possibility of time travel. While many theories, such as Einstein's theory of relativity, allow for the theoretical possibility of time travel, they also imply constraints that could prevent paradoxes like the Grandfather Paradox from occurring. For example, some physicists argue that certain conditions, such as the need for infinite energy or closed time-like curves, may prevent paradoxical scenarios. Philosophically, the paradox challenges our understanding of determinism and free will. If time travel were possible, it could lead to questions about whether our actions are predetermined or whether we have the freedom to alter the course of events. The paradox forces us to grapple with the implications of altering past events and the potential consequences for our understanding of reality. In popular culture, the grandfather paradox has inspired numerous works of fiction, from novels to movies, exploring the complexities and consequences of time travel. These fictional portrayals often play with the paradox in creative ways, highlighting the challenges and potential solutions to time travel dilemmas. Looking ahead, the grandfather paradox remains a valuable thought experiment for exploring the boundaries of our understanding of time and reality. While time travel remains a theoretical concept, the paradox provides insights into the challenges and limitations that would arise if such phenomena were possible. In summary, the grandfather paradox is a compelling puzzle that prompts us to reconsider our notions of time, causality, and the nature of reality. By examining the paradox and its implications, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities associated with time travel and the broader philosophical questions it raises. Liar's Paradox. The Liar Paradox is a classic and intriguing puzzle in philosophy and logic that explores the nature of truth and self-reference. The paradox arises from statements that make reference to themselves in a way that creates a logical contradiction. To understand this paradox, let's delve into its basic form and the implications it has on our understanding of logic. The fundamental version of the liar paradox can be expressed with the statement, "This statement is false." To unpack this, we need to examine the truth value of the statement. If we assume that the statement is true, then it must accurately describe itself as false. However, if it is indeed false, then the statement is actually true, as it claims to be false. This leads to a contradiction because the statement cannot consistently be both true and false at the same time. This paradox highlights a problem with self-referential statements in traditional binary logic systems, where statements are typically categorized as either true or false. The liar paradox challenges this binary classification by creating a scenario where a statement's truth value cannot be definitively determined. The liar paradox has roots in ancient philosophical discussions. One of the earliest examples comes from the Greek philosopher Epimenides, who famously declared, "All Cretans are liars." Epimenides, being a Cretan himself, is in a position to make a self-referential statement. If his statement is true, then as a Cretan he must be lying, which leads to a contradiction. Conversely, if he is lying, then not all Cretans are liars, which makes his statement false. This early exploration illustrates the paradoxical nature of self-referential statements. In modern logic, the liar paradox is often formalized with a more precise statement. "This statement is false." This formulation directly encapsulates the essence of the paradox, making it a clear example of how self-reference can lead to logical contradictions. The paradox challenges our ability to classify statements into simple truth categories and reveals deeper issues in the foundations of logic. The basic liar paradox can be extended to create various forms of paradoxical statements. For instance, consider the statement, "This statement is neither true nor false." This variation introduces the idea that a statement might not fit into the traditional binary classification of truth and falsehood, raising questions about whether there are other logical categories or frameworks needed to handle such cases. Another variation involves a set of self-referential statements. For example, if we have a group of statements where each one refers to the truth value of others, we can create complex networks of self-reference that further complicate the paradox. These variations show that the paradox is not limited to a single formulation, but can be adapted to explore different aspects of self-reference and logical consistency. The liar paradox has profound implications for the study of logic and formal systems. It exposes limitations in traditional logical frameworks that rely on binary truth values. By presenting a scenario where a statement's truth value cannot be clearly determined, the paradox calls into question the adequacy of existing logical systems to handle self-referential and contradictory statements. The paradox also sets the stage for exploring more advanced logical theories designed to address such issues. Understanding the liar paradox requires us to consider how formal systems can be structured to avoid contradictions and accommodate self-referential statements in a coherent way. To understand the liar paradox more deeply, we need to explore its logical and philosophical implications. This paradox is not merely a curiosity, but serves as a profound challenge to the foundations of logic and our understanding of self-reference. By examining these implications, we can better appreciate the complexities involved and the broader impact on formal reasoning. The liar paradox highlights significant issues with classical logic systems, particularly concerning self-reference and the concept of truth. In classical logic, statements are traditionally classified as either true or false. However, the liar paradox creates a situation where this binary classification fails. The statement, "This statement is false," cannot be neatly categorized as true or false without leading to contradiction. The paradox challenges the assumption that every statement must have a clear truth value. If a statement refers to itself and creates a logical loop, traditional binary logic cannot provide a consistent answer. This indicates a limitation in classical logical systems and suggests that they may not be fully equipped to handle all types of self-referential statements. The implications of the liar paradox extend to formal systems in mathematics and logic. Formal systems are designed to provide a rigorous framework for reasoning and to avoid contradictions. However, the liar paradox exposes vulnerabilities in these systems, particularly when they involve self-reference. One approach to addressing this issue is to modify formal systems to prevent self-referential statements from causing contradictions. For instance, type theory, developed by Bertrand Russell and others, introduces a hierarchy of types to avoid self-reference. In this system, sets are organized into different levels, and a set cannot contain itself or other sets of the same or higher level. This hierarchical approach helps to avoid paradoxes by preventing the creation of self-referential statements. Philosophically, the liar paradox raises important questions about the nature of truth and meaning. It challenges the idea that statements can be universally categorized as true or false, and invites us to consider more nuanced approaches to understanding truth. The paradox suggests that there may be limitations to our traditional notions of truth, and that alternative frameworks may be necessary to address self-referential statements. The paradox also highlights the complexity of language and meaning. When a statement refers to itself, it can create logical loops that defy conventional understanding. This has implications for how we approach meaning and interpretation in language, suggesting that self-reference can lead to challenges that require careful consideration. In response to the challenges posed by the liar paradox, various alternative approaches have been developed. One such approach is semantic theory, which explores how meaning and truth can be handled in the presence of self-reference. Semantic theories aim to provide a framework for understanding how statements about truth can be consistently defined and interpreted. Another approach is dialetheism, which allows for statements to be both true and false simultaneously. This perspective challenges the classical binary view of truth and offers a way to handle self-referential paradoxes by accepting that some statements may have multiple truth values. Dialetheism provides a way to accommodate paradoxes like the liar paradox without resorting to contradictions. The liar paradox has influenced both logic and philosophy by highlighting the limitations of classical approaches and prompting the development of new theories. It has led to deeper investigations into the nature of truth, self-reference, and formal reasoning. The paradox serves as a catalyst for exploring more sophisticated logical frameworks and philosophical perspectives. By examining the liar paradox and its implications, we gain insight into the challenges of defining and understanding truth in the presence of self-reference. The paradox serves as a reminder of the complexity of logical systems and the need for careful consideration when dealing with self-referential statements. The liar paradox not only challenges our understanding of logic and truth, but also has significant implications for various fields beyond philosophy and formal logic. Its impact extends into areas such as computer science, mathematics, and linguistics, influencing both theoretical and practical considerations. In computer science, the liar paradox underscores the importance of addressing self-reference and recursion in programming and algorithm design. Self-referential constructs such as recursive functions are common in programming, but must be carefully managed to avoid paradoxical outcomes. For instance, a function that calls itself without proper termination conditions can lead to infinite loops or undefined behavior, mirroring the paradoxical issues of self-reference seen in the liar paradox. To handle self-reference in programming, techniques such as base cases in recursion are employed to prevent infinite loops and ensure that functions eventually terminate. These techniques are designed to avoid the paradoxical pitfalls that can arise when self-reference is not properly constrained. Understanding and managing recursion is crucial in developing reliable and efficient algorithms, and insights from paradoxes like the liar paradox contribute to this understanding. The liar paradox has influenced mathematical logic by highlighting the need for more robust systems to handle self-referential statements. One significant development is the introduction of Gödel's incompleteness theorems, which explore limitations in formal systems and the nature of self-reference. Gödel's theorems demonstrate that in any sufficiently complex formal system, there are statements that cannot be proven true or false within the system itself, echoing the self-referential issues posed by the liar paradox. Gödel's work builds on the ideas presented by the liar paradox and extends them to a broader context, showing that no formal system can be both complete and consistent. This has profound implications for the foundations of mathematics and formal reasoning, highlighting the inherent limitations in our ability to fully capture truth and consistency within formal systems. In linguistics, the liar paradox informs the study of self-reference and meaning in language. Self-referential statements, such as those found in the paradox, challenge traditional notions of how meaning is constructed and interpreted. The paradox prompts linguists to consider how self-reference affects the semantics of language and how statements about truth and falsity can be meaningfully addressed. Semantic theory, as mentioned earlier, provides a framework for understanding how meaning and truth can be managed in the presence of self-reference. This field explores various ways to handle paradoxes and self-referential statements, offering insights into how language can accommodate complex logical issues. The study of self-reference in language also contributes to a deeper understanding of how meaning is generated and interpreted in different contexts. The liar paradox also has cultural and theoretical significance. It has inspired numerous works of literature, art, and media that explore themes of paradox, self-reference, and the nature of truth. The paradox serves as a powerful symbol of the complexities and contradictions inherent in our attempts to understand and define reality. In popular culture, references to the liar paradox and similar paradoxes often appear in discussions of logic, philosophy, and even science fiction. These references highlight the ongoing fascination with paradoxical reasoning and its implications for understanding the nature of reality and truth. The liar paradox has a lasting influence on various fields, including computer science, mathematics, linguistics, and cultural theory. Its impact extends beyond philosophical discussions, shaping practical considerations in programming, mathematical logic, and the study of language. By exploring the paradoxes' implications and applications, we gain valuable insights into the challenges of self-reference and the nature of truth. As we continue to grapple with the complexities introduced by the liar paradox, it remains a compelling example of the limits of traditional logical systems and the need for ongoing exploration and refinement in our understanding of logic and meaning. Ship of Theseus? The Ship of Theseus paradox is one of the most enduring and thought-provoking puzzles in philosophy, raising deep questions about identity, change, and what it means for an object to remain the same over time. The paradox revolves around the idea of gradual replacement. If a ship, over the course of many years, has each of its parts replaced one by one until none of the original components remain, can we still consider it to be the same ship? This seemingly simple question has profound implications for how we think about objects' identity and continuity. The paradox is named after Theseus, a legendary figure in Greek mythology. As the story goes, after Theseus successfully returned from his many adventures, including the famous encounter with the Minotaur, the Athenians preserved his ship in honor of his heroism. Over time, however, the wooden parts of the ship began to rot and decay. To preserve the ship, the Athenians replaced each plank, mast, and beam with new materials. Eventually, every single part of the ship was replaced. The question that arises is whether the ship, after all these replacements, is still the same vessel that Theseus sailed. At first glance, it might seem obvious that the ship remains the same. After all, it retains its form, function, and purpose. It continues to be recognized as the Ship of Theseus, serving as a symbol of Theseus's legacy and a piece of Athenian history. However, the fact that none of the original materials remain raises a significant challenge to this view. If the ship's identity is tied to its physical components, then how can it be the same ship if all those components have been replaced? This leads us to the philosophical concept of identity over time, which concerns how an object can maintain its identity despite undergoing changes. One approach to this question is to focus on physical continuity, the idea that an object's identity is preserved as long as there is some form of physical continuity between its past and present states. According to this view, the ship's identity would be compromised as its original parts are replaced, and it would eventually become a different ship once all the parts are new. However, this approach raises further questions. For instance, if identity is based on physical continuity, how many parts need to be replaced before the ship is no longer the same? Is there a specific threshold at which the ship's identity changes? Or is the loss of identity a gradual process where the ship slowly becomes less Theseus's ship and more something else? These questions illustrate the difficulty of defining identity purely in terms of physical continuity. Another perspective emphasizes the importance of conceptual identity, the idea that the identity of an object is not tied to its physical parts, but to its concept or role. From this standpoint, the Ship of Theseus remains the same as long as it continues to fulfill the same function and is recognized as the same entity by those who interact with it. This view suggests that the ship's identity is preserved not through its materials, but through the continuity of its form, purpose, and meaning within society. This conceptual approach aligns with how we often think about identity in everyday life. Consider, for example, a museum artifact that has been restored with new materials to maintain its appearance. Even though the materials are different, the artifact may still be regarded as authentic because it represents the same historical object. Similarly, the ship of Theseus might retain its identity as long as it continues to be understood and valued as the ship associated with Theseus, regardless of the changes it has undergone. However, this raises the question of what exactly it is that we are identifying when we say the ship is the same. Are we identifying a physical object, a concept, or something else entirely? And if the ship's identity is conceptual rather than physical, does that mean that any object could be considered the same as long as it fits the concept? These are some of the deeper questions that the Ship of Theseus paradox invites us to explore. Building on the idea of identity, the Ship of Theseus paradox takes a more complex turn when we consider scenarios that further challenge our intuitions about what it means for something to remain the same over time. One of the most intriguing variations of this thought experiment involves the possibility of reassembling the original ship using the discarded parts. Suppose every plank, mast, and beam that was replaced on Theseus's ship was carefully stored, and eventually these original parts were reassembled into a ship. Now we are faced with a perplexing situation. There are two ships, one made entirely of new parts and another made of the original parts. Which one, if either, is the true ship of Theseus? This question introduces the concept of reassembly, which complicates the notions of physical continuity and conceptual identity even further. If the ship's identity is tied to its original parts, then it might seem that the reassembled ship, composed entirely of the original materials, should be considered the authentic ship of Theseus. After all, it possesses the very same physical components that once made up the ship Theseus sailed. From this perspective, the ship that has undergone repairs with new parts could be seen as a replica or a new ship altogether, despite its continuity in function and form. However, the situation is not so straightforward. If we accept that the reassembled ship is the true ship of Theseus, we face the challenge of explaining why the ship that has remained in use, the one that has been gradually repaired and maintained, is not the original. This ship has been preserved with the intention of maintaining Theseus's legacy, and it has continued to serve as a cultural and historical symbol. Can we dismiss its identity simply because its physical components have been replaced? The tension between these two perspectives forces us to confront the idea that identity might not be a straightforward concept, but rather something that can be influenced by context and intention. The reassembled ship, while physically identical to the original, lacks the continuity of history and function that the repaired ship possesses. On the other hand, the repaired ship, while maintaining its functional continuity, does not have the same material connection to the original vessel. This raises the possibility that both ships might, in some sense, be considered the ship of Theseus, each representing different aspects of identity, one tied to physical continuity and the other to conceptual or functional continuity. This duality of identity is not unique to the ship of Theseus. We encounter similar dilemmas in various other contexts, particularly when it comes to the preservation of cultural heritage. For example, in the restoration of historical buildings or works of art, the tension between preserving original materials and maintaining the integrity of the structure or artwork often leads to debates about what constitutes the authentic object. Should we prioritize the original materials, even if they have deteriorated, or should we allow for the replacement of parts to preserve the overall form and function? These questions echo the issues raised by the Ship of Theseus paradox, highlighting the challenges of maintaining identity over time. Another fascinating implication of the paradox is its relevance to modern technology and personal identity. In an age where medical science can replace organs, tissues, and even body parts, We might ask ourselves whether a person who has undergone extensive medical procedures remains the same individual. If all of a person's organs were gradually replaced with artificial ones, would they still be the same person? This question is not merely theoretical, but touches on deep ethical and philosophical concerns about what it means to be human, and how we understand personal identity in the face of change. The paradox also invites us to consider the role of memory and consciousness in identity. While the ship of Theseus does not involve a conscious entity, the thought experiment can be extended to personal identity, where memory and consciousness play a crucial role. If we think of the ship of Theseus as a metaphor for a person's identity, the gradual replacement of parts could be analogous to the changes we experience over time, whether through physical changes, psychological growth, or the accumulation of experiences. In this context, the question becomes whether our identity remains the same as we change, or whether we become a different person as a result of these changes. In essence, the reassembly scenario of the ship of Theseus paradox forces us to grapple with the complexities of identity in a deeper way. It challenges us to think beyond simple physical continuity and consider the broader implications of conceptual and functional continuity, as well as the role of memory, consciousness, and intention in maintaining identity. As we explore these ideas further, we can see that the ship of Theseus is not just a puzzle about a ship, but a profound exploration of what it means to be the same, whether as an object, a person, or a society. As we continue to explore the ship of Theseus paradox, it becomes apparent that the questions it raises extend far beyond the realm of philosophy and touch on practical, real-world issues. One crucial aspect to delve into is the relationship between identity and functional continuity. This perspective is particularly significant in understanding how the paradox applies to various domains, from legal and scientific contexts to everyday experiences. In legal contexts, the concept of functional continuity often plays a role in determining the identity of objects and entities. For example, when it comes to property law, the identity of an object might be considered in terms of its function and role rather than its physical composition. Consider a historical artifact that has undergone extensive restoration. Legally, this artifact might be treated as the same object because it continues to fulfill its cultural or historical role, even though its materials have been replaced. This approach aligns with the conceptual identity perspective, suggesting that identity is tied more to the role or purpose of the object than to its physical components. The ship of Theseus paradox mirrors these legal considerations. If a ship is continuously repaired and maintained to serve its intended purpose, its legal identity might be preserved, even if its physical parts are entirely new. Conversely, if we were to reassemble the original parts into a new ship, the legal and functional implications of this reassembly could be complex. Which ship would be considered the legal ship of Theseus? And how would this affect its status, ownership, or historical significance? The ship of Theseus paradox also has intriguing parallels in biology and technology. In the biological world, organisms undergo continuous changes through growth, repair, and regeneration. For instance, human cells are constantly being replaced, yet we consider the person to remain the same individual over time. This biological analogy prompts us to reflect on how identity is maintained despite the replacement of individual components. The concept of biological identity suggests that the continuity of life, consciousness, and function allows an organism to remain the same entity even as its parts change. In technology, similar issues arise with the maintenance and upgrade of machines and systems. Consider a computer that has had its hardware components upgraded over the years. While the individual parts have changed, The computer is often still regarded as the same entity because it continues to perform the same functions and fulfill the same role. This scenario illustrates the idea of functional continuity. The identity of the computer is preserved through its ongoing performance and purpose, despite changes in its physical components. The Ship of Theseus paradox also raises ethical and philosophical questions about the nature of identity and change. One important consideration is the idea of personal identity in the context of life and death. As we undergo changes in our bodies and minds, what ensures that we remain the same person? This question is particularly relevant in discussions about personal identity and consciousness. If a person's memories, thoughts, and experiences remain intact despite physical changes, does this continuity of consciousness suffice to maintain personal identity? Philosophers have explored various theories to address these questions. For example, psychological continuity theories argue that identity is preserved through the continuity of psychological states, such as memories and personality traits. This perspective suggests that as long as a person's consciousness and psychological characteristics persist, they remain the same individual, even if their physical body changes significantly. This theory provides a framework for understanding how personal identity can be maintained over time, despite the replacement of physical components. Another philosophical angle involves the concept of narrative identity. According to this view, identity is not solely tied to physical or psychological continuity, but also to the ongoing narrative or story of an individual's life. This narrative perspective emphasizes that our sense of self is shaped by the way we perceive and narrate our experiences, rather than just by our physical or psychological states. From this standpoint, as long as the story or narrative of a person's life remains coherent, their identity is preserved. The Ship of Theseus paradox also extends to cultural and societal contexts. In many cultures, traditions and symbols undergo changes over time while retaining their core significance. For example, religious artifacts, monuments, and national symbols often experience alterations, repairs, and renovations, yet they continue to be regarded as embodying the same cultural or historical values. This cultural continuity reflects a broader understanding of identity that encompasses more than just physical components, emphasizing the importance of shared meaning and significance. Similarly, societal institutions and practices may evolve over time while retaining their fundamental roles and functions. Consider a historical institution like a university or a political office that has undergone numerous changes in its structure and personnel. Despite these changes, the institution may still be recognized as fulfilling the same role and maintaining the same core identity within society. In conclusion, the Ship of Theseus paradox offers profound insights into the nature of identity and change. By examining the concepts of functional continuity, legal identity, and personal identity, we gain a deeper understanding of how objects, individuals, and institutions can remain the same despite undergoing significant transformations. The paradox challenges us to rethink our assumptions about identity and invites ongoing reflection on the complex interplay between physical components, function, and meaning. Dichotomy Paradox. Zeno's dichotomy paradox is a fascinating thought experiment that explores the nature of motion and the infinite. Imagine you're about to run a race. According to Zeno, before you can cross the finish line, you must first cover half the distance to it. Once you've reached that halfway point, you need to cover half of the remaining distance. Then you continue by covering half of what's left, and so on infinitely. This might sound straightforward, but it leads to a perplexing question. How can you ever reach the finish line if there are infinitely many distances to cover? To visualize this, picture yourself running. As you start, you cover half of the total distance. After reaching this point, you then need to cover half of what remains. You keep halving the distance in front of you, creating an endless sequence of tasks. It seems that no matter how far you run, there's always more distance to cover. This infinite division suggests that you should never reach the finish line, which creates a paradox. How can something finite be completed if it involves an infinite number of steps? This paradox challenges our intuitive understanding of space and motion. We experience the world as if we can move from one point to another without endless obstacles. Yet, Zeno's paradox suggests that if there are infinite steps to take, completing a journey becomes an impossible task. Zeno's paradox wasn't just a mathematical puzzle, it was also a philosophical challenge. Zeno was a follower of Parmenides, who argued that change and motion are illusions. By presenting the Dichotomy Paradox, Zeno aimed to show that the concept of motion leads to logical contradictions. If you need to cover an infinite number of steps, it appears that motion itself is impossible. The paradox invites us to question the nature of reality and our understanding of space and time. It makes us wonder if our intuitive grasp of motion is flawed. If an infinite process is required to complete a finite task, does that mean motion is fundamentally impossible? Zeno of Elea, an ancient Greek philosopher, used this paradox to support Parmenides' philosophy. Parmenides believed that reality is unchanging and that our perceptions of change and motion are deceptive. Zeno's paradoxes, including the Dichotomy Paradox, were designed to demonstrate contradictions in the notion of motion and change. By presenting these paradoxes, Zeno challenged his contemporaries to rethink their assumptions about the nature of reality. He used paradoxical scenarios to highlight what he saw as the logical flaws in the idea of movement and change. Today, while the Dichotomy Paradox presents an intriguing challenge, modern mathematics provides a resolution. Calculus, developed by mathematicians like Isaac Newton and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, offers tools to understand infinite processes and continuous motion. Through calculus, we learn that although there are infinitely many steps, their size diminishes quickly enough to allow us to complete a finite journey. This modern understanding helps us see how infinite processes can result in finite outcomes. It also shows that while Zeno's paradox presents a theoretical problem, it does not prevent us from experiencing and understanding motion in our daily lives. In everyday life, we often deal with tasks that seem infinite but are completed in reality. For example, when working on a project or solving a problem, we might feel overwhelmed by the number of steps involved. However, we manage to complete the task, demonstrating that even when faced with seemingly infinite challenges, we can achieve our goals. Zeno's Dichotomy Paradox, though ancient, remains a powerful reminder of the complexities involved in understanding motion and infinity. It encourages us to reflect on our perceptions and appreciate the ways in which mathematical and philosophical insights help us make sense of the world. So, how does this align with what we experience in reality? In practical terms, people do reach their destinations, despite the notion of infinite steps. The key lies in understanding how infinite divisions can still result in a finite journey. Imagine you're walking towards a goal, like walking across a room. If you think about the journey in terms of dividing it into increasingly smaller steps, it can help clarify the paradox. Each step you take might seem to get smaller and smaller, but your progress doesn't stop. You eventually reach the other side of the room. This demonstrates how, even with an infinite number of steps, you can complete the journey. This understanding is crucial because it highlights that while there are infinite steps in theory, they become so small that their impact is negligible. The idea of infinite steps doesn't prevent you from reaching your destination. Instead, it shows that the steps are so tiny that they don't hinder your progress. Think about everyday tasks that might seem endless but are completed nonetheless. For example, if you're assembling a piece of furniture, you might have a series of steps to follow, each involving detailed adjustments. While the process seems intricate, you eventually finish the task. This mirrors the idea that despite having many smaller tasks or steps, you can complete the entire process. Another example is writing a book. You start with a blank page and fill it with words, paragraph by paragraph. Each part of the writing process might feel like a small step, but ultimately, these steps add up to a complete manuscript. The infinite nature of the task in theory doesn't prevent the actual completion of the book. The Dichotomy Paradox also invites us to reflect on how we perceive time and motion. It challenges our intuitive understanding of these concepts by suggesting that an infinite sequence should prevent us from reaching a conclusion. In reality, our experience of time and motion is continuous and seamless. Psychologically, dealing with tasks that feel endless can be overwhelming. However, understanding that small incremental progress leads to a final result helps us manage and complete these tasks. This practical approach aligns with the paradox's resolution, showing that despite theoretical complexities, we can achieve our goals. The Dichotomy Paradox has influenced various fields, including mathematics, philosophy, and even popular culture. It highlights the importance of understanding how infinite processes work and how they relate to our finite experiences. In mathematics, the paradox spurred the development of new concepts to address infinite series and continuity. In philosophy and culture, the paradox serves as a metaphor for exploring the limits of human understanding and the nature of reality. It encourages us to think deeply about how we experience and conceptualize the world, pushing the boundaries of our knowledge and intuition. Zeno's Dichotomy Paradox was not just a philosophical puzzle. It played a significant role in the development of mathematical concepts. Although Zeno himself didn't provide a resolution, his paradoxes inspired later mathematicians to develop tools to handle infinite processes. One of the key advancements was the creation of calculus by Isaac Newton and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz in the 17th century. Calculus provides a framework for understanding how infinite processes can result in finite outcomes. It uses concepts like limits and infinitesimals to explain how an infinite series of increasingly smaller distances can sum up to a finite total. This mathematical breakthrough allowed scientists and engineers to solve complex problems involving motion, growth, and change. For example, calculus is used to model the movement of planets, predict the behavior of physical systems, and analyze economic trends. By addressing the issues raised by Zeno's paradox, calculus has become a fundamental tool in various scientific disciplines. The Dichotomy Paradox continues to provoke philosophical reflection on the nature of reality and our understanding of motion. It challenges our intuitions about how space and time work. If an infinite number of steps can be completed in a finite time, what does that say about the nature of infinity and continuity? Philosophers have used this paradox to explore questions about the nature of existence and the limits of human knowledge. It raises profound questions about whether our perceptions of time and space accurately reflect the underlying nature of reality. By grappling with these questions, we gain deeper insights into the nature of existence and our place in the universe. Beyond mathematics and philosophy, Zeno's Dichotomy Paradox has influenced popular culture and creative thinking. It appears in literature, film, and art as a symbol of the challenges and complexities inherent in understanding infinity and motion. In literature, authors have used the paradox to explore themes of time, perception, and the nature of reality. Science fiction writers in particular have drawn on the paradox to create imaginative scenarios that challenge our understanding of space and time. For example, stories about time travel or infinite worlds often reflect the kinds of questions raised by Zeno's paradox. Artistic works have also used the paradox to explore the concept of infinity. Artists have created visual representations that capture the idea of an endless process or an infinite sequence, highlighting the paradox's influence on our perception of space and form. Zeno's dichotomy. Paradox serves as a valuable educational tool for introducing concepts related to infinity, continuity, and mathematical reasoning. It provides a compelling example of how philosophical problems can lead to significant advancements in mathematics and science. By studying Zeno's paradox, students and scholars can explore fundamental ideas about motion and infinity, while also appreciating the historical development of mathematical and philosophical thought. The paradox encourages critical thinking and helps students develop a deeper understanding of how abstract concepts can be applied to real-world problems. In summary, Zeno's dichotomy. Paradox is more than just an ancient puzzle. It's a gateway to exploring profound questions about the nature of motion, infinity, and reality. Its impact extends across mathematics, philosophy, culture, and education. By examining this paradox, we gain valuable insights into how we understand the world and how we tackle complex problems. The dichotomy. Paradox continues to inspire and challenge us, reminding us of the limits of our intuition and the power of human reasoning. As we reflect on its implications, we appreciate the ways in which ancient ideas can shape and enrich our understanding of the universe. Barber Paradox. This paradox is introduced by Bertrand Russell in the early 20th century. It is a classic illustration of a self-referential paradox that exposes fundamental issues in logic and set theory. To understand the paradox, imagine a small town with a single barber who adheres to a very specific rule. He shaves all and only those men who do not shave themselves. This seemingly straightforward rule leads to a perplexing question: does the barber shave himself? To unpack this paradox, let's consider the implications of the barber's rule. If the barber shaves himself, then according to his own rule, he should not shave himself. The rule clearly states that the barber shaves only those who do not shave themselves. Thus, if the barber is one of those who shaves himself, he must be excluded from the group he shaves, resulting in a contradiction. The other hand, if the barber does not shave himself, he must be one of those men who the barber shaves, according to the rule. This again leads to a contradiction, because if he does not shave himself, he should be shaven by the barber. This paradox highlights an inherent problem in self-referential systems. It reveals that defining a set or a rule that includes or excludes itself can lead to logical inconsistencies. The Barber Paradox is a specific example of a broader category of self-referential paradoxes that question the consistency of formal systems. These paradoxes challenge our ability to categorize and define sets in a way that avoids contradictions. Russell's paradox, including the Barber Paradox, was introduced during a time when mathematicians were working to establish a solid foundation for mathematics. The early 20th century saw significant efforts to formalize mathematical logic and set theory. However, the discovery of paradoxes like Russell's highlighted serious flaws in these systems. The paradox showed that certain naive approaches to set theory, where sets could be defined in terms of themselves, were inherently problematic. The Barber Paradox is not just a theoretical puzzle. It has real implications for how we understand and structure formal systems. It forces us to reconsider the rules and definitions we use to categorize and analyze sets. By presenting a scenario where a Barber's self-referential rule leads to a logical contradiction, Russell's paradox underscores the need for more robust frameworks in mathematics and logic. As we delve deeper into the paradox, we will see how it influences the development of modern logic and set theory. The Barber Paradox serves as a catalyst for revising and refining formal systems to address self-reference issues and avoid contradictions. Understanding this paradox is crucial for appreciating the evolution of mathematical logic and the ongoing efforts to create consistent and reliable formal systems. To grasp the depth of the Barber Paradox, it's crucial to explore its logical and philosophical implications. The paradox does more than just illustrate a logical inconsistency. It delves into the complexities of self-reference and formal systems. Understanding these aspects requires examining how the paradox relates to broader logical issues and its impact on modern mathematics and philosophy. At its core, the Barber Paradox challenges our understanding of set theory and self-reference. It questions the validity of constructing sets or rules that refer to themselves. This self-referential nature is where the paradox originates. The Barber's rule creates a scenario where the barber's identity as a member of the set he shaves leads to a logical contradiction. This reflects a more general problem in formal logic: how to handle statements or sets that refer to themselves without causing inconsistencies. One of the significant logical issues highlighted by the paradox is the problem of defining a set that includes or excludes itself. This issue is not unique to the Barber Paradox, but is a common theme in various self-referential paradoxes. For instance, the classic Russell's paradox presents a set of all sets that do not contain themselves. Both paradoxes expose the limitations of naive set theory, where sets can be defined without restrictions on their membership criteria. The Barber Paradox also illustrates the broader concept of self-reference in logic. Self-reference occurs when a statement or rule refers to itself, creating a loop that can lead to contradictions. In formal logic, handling self-reference requires careful definitions and constraints to avoid paradoxical outcomes. The paradox serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of self-referential definitions and the need for more rigorous logical frameworks. In response to paradoxes like the Barber Paradox, mathematicians and philosophers have developed several solutions to address self-reference issues. One approach is to revise the foundational principles of set theory. For example, type theory, introduced by Bertrand Russell himself, offers a solution by categorizing sets into different types to prevent self-reference. In this system, sets are organized hierarchically, and a set of a certain type cannot contain sets of the same or higher type. This prevents self-referential definitions and avoids the paradoxes associated with them. Another influential approach is Zermelo-Fraenkel's set theory, which incorporates axiom of regularity and other constraints to avoid paradoxes. The axiom of regularity, also known as the axiom of foundation, ensures that no set is a member of itself, thereby preventing self-referential definitions that lead to paradoxes. ZF set theory provides a more consistent framework for dealing mind-bending paradoxes, 21, with sets, and avoids the contradictions highlighted by the Barber Paradox and similar issues. These responses demonstrate the evolution of mathematical logic in addressing paradoxes and ensuring consistency within formal systems. They reflect the ongoing effort to refine and strengthen the foundations of mathematics in light of the challenges posed by paradoxes. Beyond mathematics, the Barber Paradox has philosophical implications for our understanding of formal systems and self-reference. It raises questions about the nature of definitions and the limits of formal reasoning. The paradox highlights the need for precise definitions and constraints in any formal system to avoid contradictions. Philosophically, The paradox also touches on issues related to language and meaning. It challenges our ability to create consistent rules and definitions when dealing with self-reference. The paradox underscores the complexity of formalizing concepts and the importance of carefully constructing systems to avoid logical inconsistencies. To fully appreciate the significance of the Barber Paradox, it's important to examine its impact on various fields beyond pure logic and set theory. This paradox not only influenced the development of mathematical frameworks, but also left a lasting mark on computer science, philosophy, and the study of formal systems. By exploring these areas, we gain a deeper understanding of how the Barber Paradox has shaped modern thought. The Barber Paradox has notable implications for computer science, particularly in the areas of programming and database theory. Self-referential paradoxes highlight challenges in designing algorithms and systems that must handle recursive definitions and queries. In programming, recursion is a common technique where functions call themselves. While recursion is powerful, it can lead to complications if not managed properly. The Barber Paradox exemplifies the types of issues that can arise from self-referential constructs. In database theory, similar challenges are encountered when dealing with recursive queries and hierarchical data structures. For example, consider a database of organizational structures where an employee can have subordinates, and those subordinates can have their own subordinates, forming a hierarchy. Querying such recursive structures requires careful design to avoid paradoxical results or infinite loops. The lessons learned from paradoxes like the Barber Paradox help in creating more robust database systems that can handle recursion without running into contradictions. The Barber Paradox also resonates with philosophical inquiries into the nature of truth, self-reference, and the limits of human cognition. Philosophers have long grappled with questions about how self-referential statements can lead to paradoxes and what this reveals about the nature of meaning and truth. The Barber Paradox serves as a concrete example of how self-reference can create logical problems, prompting deeper reflection on the nature of statements and their logical consistency. In cognitive science, the paradox highlights the challenges humans face when dealing with complex self-referential systems. Understanding and resolving such paradoxes requires sophisticated cognitive abilities and reasoning skills. By studying how individuals approach and resolve paradoxes, researchers gain insights into human cognition and the limits of our logical capacities. In education, the Barber Paradox is used to illustrate key concepts in logic and mathematics. It serves as a valuable teaching tool for demonstrating the complexities of self-reference and the importance of formal definitions. Educators use the paradox to encourage critical thinking and to show how logical systems must be carefully constructed to avoid contradictions. Teaching the Barber Paradox also introduces students to the broader context of paradoxes and their significance in mathematical and philosophical discussions. By exploring the paradox, students learn about the historical development of logical systems and the ongoing efforts to address foundational issues in mathematics. The paradox helps students appreciate the importance of precision and consistency in formal reasoning. The Barber Paradox has also made its way into cultural and literary discussions as a symbol of the complexities of logic and self-reference. In literature, self-referential paradoxes often appear as motifs that explore themes of identity, truth, and the nature of reality. The Barber Paradox, like other logical paradoxes, serves as a metaphor for the challenges of understanding and defining complex concepts. In popular culture, references to paradoxes and self-reference are used to engage audiences with thought-provoking ideas. For example, Films and books, mind-bending paradoxes that explore themes of recursion and self-reference often draw on the ideas illustrated by the Barber Paradox. These cultural references help to popularize and disseminate the ideas associated with formal logic and paradoxes, making them accessible to a broader audience. The Barber Paradox extends far beyond its origins in set theory and logic. Its influence spans computer science, philosophy, education, and popular culture. By examining its impact on these diverse fields, we gain a deeper appreciation for the paradox's significance and the ongoing efforts to address the challenges it presents. The Barber Paradox serves as a reminder of the complexities involved in formal reasoning and the need for rigorous frameworks to handle self-referential constructs. As we continue to grapple with these issues, the paradox remains a powerful tool for exploring the limits of human understanding and the nature of formal systems. Paradox of choice. The paradox of choice centers on a seemingly counterintuitive idea. Having more options doesn't always lead to greater satisfaction. In fact, it can sometimes result in greater dissatisfaction. This paradox was popularized by psychologist Barry Schwartz in his book, The Paradox of Choice: Why More is Less. To understand this paradox, let's begin with a simple scenario. Imagine you're at an ice cream shop with 10 flavors to choose from. On the surface, having more flavors seems like a great advantage. You can pick exactly what you want. However, when faced with so many choices, you might feel overwhelmed and struggle to make a decision. This overwhelming feeling can lead to anxiety, regret, and even dissatisfaction with the choice you eventually make. Schwartz argues that this paradox stems from several factors. One major factor is decision fatigue. When faced with numerous options, the cognitive load of evaluating each option can be exhausting. This fatigue can reduce our ability to make satisfying choices and can even lead to indecision or decision paralysis, where no choice feels completely right. Another factor is the concept of regret. When there are many options, you may constantly second-guess your choice. You might worry that another option could have been better, leading to feelings of regret. This regret can overshadow the satisfaction you get from your chosen option, making you feel less happy overall. In addition, the expectation of perfection plays a role. When there are many options, people might hold out for the perfect choice, believing that if they search long enough, they will find the ideal option. This quest for perfection can lead to dissatisfaction with even the best options, as they may fall short of the imagined ideal. The paradox also highlights the impact of choice overload on our well-being. Research has shown that when people are presented with too many options, they often experience a decrease in satisfaction and increased stress. The cognitive effort required to compare and evaluate multiple choices can lead to a sense of being overwhelmed and less content with the final decision. As we continue to explore this paradox, it's important to consider how the number of choices we face in various aspects of life, such as shopping, career decisions, and personal relationships, can influence our overall happiness and well-being. In the next part, we will delve into the psychological mechanisms behind the paradox of choice, examining how various factors contribute to the paradox and exploring real-world examples of how choice overload affects decision-making and satisfaction. To further understand the paradox of choice, it's essential to delve into the psychological mechanisms that contribute to the paradox. Several key concepts help explain why having too many choices can lead to less satisfaction and greater anxiety. One crucial factor is maximization versus satisficing. Maximizers are individuals who strive to make the best possible choice by thoroughly exploring all available options. They are often motivated by the desire to achieve the most optimal outcome. In contrast, satisficers are content with a choice that meets their criteria, and does not feel the need to search for the best possible option. Research has shown that maximizers are more likely to experience anxiety and regret as they continuously evaluate whether their choice is the absolute best. This tendency can lead to lower overall satisfaction compared to satisficers, who are more likely to be content with their decisions. The concept of choice paralysis also plays a significant role in the paradox of choice. When faced with an overwhelming number of options, individuals may experience difficulty in making a decision. This paralysis can lead to delays in decision-making or avoidance of making a choice altogether. The stress and frustration associated with not being able to choose can reduce overall satisfaction and lead to negative emotional outcomes. Another important aspect is the role of self-doubt. When people have too many options, they may second-guess their decisions and question whether they made the right choice. This self-doubt can be exacerbated by the fear of missing out on a better option or the belief that there was a more optimal choice they didn't consider. This constant questioning can undermine the satisfaction and enjoyment that might otherwise come from the chosen option. Social comparison is another factor influencing the paradox of choice. When there are many options, people often compare their choice to those of others. This comparison can lead to feelings of inadequacy or dissatisfaction, especially if they perceive that others have made better choices. Social comparison can amplify feelings of regret and diminish the pleasure derived from the chosen option. The asterisk cost of opportunity is also a significant factor. The more options available, the greater the opportunity cost of each choice. When people have to choose from many options, they become more aware of what they are giving up with each decision. This awareness of opportunity cost can lead to greater dissatisfaction with the chosen option, as individuals may dwell on what they missed out on. In the next part, we will examine real-world examples of how the paradox of choice manifests in various contexts, such as consumer behavior, career decisions, and personal relationships. We will also explore potential strategies to mitigate the negative effects of choice overload and enhance overall satisfaction. The paradox of choice has significant implications across various aspects of life, including consumer behavior, career decisions, and personal relationships. By examining real-world examples and strategies for managing choice overload, we can gain insights into how to navigate this paradox effectively. Consumer behavior. One of the most well-known examples of the paradox of choice is in the context of shopping. When consumers are presented with a wide range of products, they often experience choice overload, which can lead to dissatisfaction and reduced enjoyment of the purchase. For instance, a study conducted on jam selection found that consumers were more likely to purchase a jar of jam when presented with fewer options compared to a larger assortment. The increased variety led to more deliberation and second-guessing, resulting in lower satisfaction with the final choice. The paradox of choice is also evident in career decision-making. With an abundance of career options and opportunities, individuals may struggle to make a choice and feel overwhelmed by the possibilities. This can lead to analysis paralysis, where the pressure to make the best possible decision results in procrastination or indecision. Additionally, the fear of missing out on a potentially better career path can contribute to feelings of dissatisfaction and regret, even after a decision has been made. In personal relationships, the paradox of choice can manifest in the dating world. With numerous potential partners available through dating apps and social networks, individuals may feel overwhelmed by the options and struggle to commit to one person. This abundance of choices can lead to decreased satisfaction with relationships, as people may continually wonder if they could find a better match or if they are settling for less than they deserve. To address the paradox of choice and mitigate its negative effects, several strategies can be employed. One effective approach is to practice decision simplification. By narrowing down options and focusing on key criteria, individuals can reduce the cognitive load associated with decision-making and increase satisfaction with their choices. For example, setting clear priorities and eliminating less relevant options can make the decision process more manageable. Limiting choices can also help alleviate choice overload. By intentionally restricting the number of options, individuals can reduce the complexity of decision-making and enhance their overall satisfaction. For instance, when shopping, limiting the number of products to consider can lead to a quicker decision and greater contentment with the purchase. Another strategy is to adopt a satisficing mindset rather than a maximizing one. Embracing the idea that a choice does not need to be perfect and that satisfactory options are acceptable can reduce the pressure and anxiety associated with decision-making. By focusing on finding options that meet basic criteria rather than seeking the absolute best, individuals can achieve greater satisfaction and peace of mind. Finally, practicing gratitude and acceptance can help individuals appreciate their choices and reduce feelings of regret. By acknowledging the positive aspects of the chosen option and accepting that no choice is without its trade-offs, people can enhance their overall satisfaction and reduce the negative impact of choice overload. In summary, the paradox of choice provides valuable insights into the complexities of decision-making and the effects of choice overload. By understanding the psychological mechanisms behind the paradox and implementing strategies to manage choice, individuals can navigate their decisions more effectively and enhance their overall satisfaction with their choices. Bootstrap Paradox. The Bootstrap Paradox, also known as the causal loop or ontological paradox, challenges our understanding of time and causality. It arises from scenarios involving time travel where an object or piece of information is sent back in time only to become the cause of its own existence. This creates a self-sustaining loop with no clear origin point. To illustrate this paradox, consider a classic example: a time traveler who goes back to the past with a copy of a famous novel. The traveler gives the book to a young aspiring writer who reads it and is inspired to become a famous author. This writer then goes on to write the very book that the time traveler brought back in time. In this loop, the book exists without a clear origin. It seems to come from nowhere. The paradox highlights the issue of causal loops, situations where cause and effect loop back on themselves. In the case of the Bootstrap Paradox, the book's existence creates its own past, leading to a situation where the book has no initial point of creation. This creates a paradoxical situation where the book is perpetually in a loop of its own creation. Understanding the Bootstrap Paradox requires grappling with time travel theories and how they affect our understanding of causality. Time travel introduces the possibility of moving backwards in time and altering past events, leading to situations where outcomes can become self-fulfilling. In the Bootstrap Paradox, the information or object travels back in time, causing its own creation, which raises questions about how time and causality are interconnected. In classical physics, the concept of time is linear, with a clear progression from past to present to future. However, the Bootstrap Paradox introduces a nonlinear perspective where events can loop back on themselves. This nonlinearity challenges our intuitive understanding of how cause and effect should operate, as it defies the straightforward progression of events. The paradox also touches on the nature of information and existence. If a piece of information or an object can exist without a clear origin, it raises questions about the fundamental nature of reality. How can something come into existence without being created or originating from a specific point in time? The Bootstrap Paradox forces us to reconsider our assumptions about how information and objects come into being. As we delve deeper into the Bootstrap Paradox, it's important to consider its implications for our understanding of time travel and causal relationships. The paradox challenges traditional notions of time and causality, suggesting that time travel could lead to scenarios where events loop back on themselves, creating complex and paradoxical outcomes. The paradox also raises philosophical questions about the nature of existence and the origin of objects and information. In the next part, we'll explore how the Bootstrap Paradox unfolds in more detail, examining the logical structure of the causal loop and its implications for our understanding of time and causality. The second part of the Bootstrap Paradox delves into the logical structure of the causal loop and examines how it affects our understanding of time and causality. By analyzing specific examples and theoretical implications, we can gain a deeper insight into the paradox. To further understand the paradox, let's consider a variation of the classic example. A time traveler who brings back a blueprint for a highly advanced machine. This blueprint is given to a scientist in the past who uses it to build the machine. The machine is then used to send the blueprint back to the time traveler, completing the loop. In this scenario, the blueprint exists without a clear origin, creating a self-sustaining causal loop. This example highlights the recursive nature of the Bootstrap Paradox. The blueprint and the machine are intertwined in a loop where the creation of one depends on the existence of the other. The loop creates a situation where both the blueprint and the machine seem to exist without an initial point of creation. This recursive nature challenges our conventional understanding of cause and effect, where an event or object should have a clear origin. The paradox also raises questions about the stability of such loops. If an object or piece of information is caught in a loop of self-creation, it might lead to instability or contradictions. For instance, if the blueprint or the machine were to change in some way, it could disrupt the loop and create inconsistencies in the timeline. This raises concerns about the feasibility of such loops and whether they can exist in a consistent and stable manner. Another important aspect of the Bootstrap Paradox is its impact on logical consistency. The paradox presents a challenge to the principles of logic and causality, as it suggests that events can occur without a clear cause or origin. This challenges the traditional notion that every effect must have a cause and every cause must precede its effect. The Bootstrap Paradox disrupts this linear understanding of causality, leading to a situation where events can loop back on themselves without a clear starting point. The Bootstrap Paradox also intersects with discussions on free will and determinism. If events are caught in a causal loop, it raises questions about the nature of free will and whether our actions are predetermined by the loop. The paradox suggests that if time travel and causal loops are possible, they could influence the nature of our decisions and actions, potentially leading to a deterministic view of the universe where events are predetermined by the loop. As we continue to explore the paradox, it's important to consider its implications for our understanding of time travel and its potential effects on reality. The Bootstrap Paradox challenges our assumptions about the nature of time and causality, suggesting that time travel could lead to complex and paradoxical outcomes. By examining these implications, we can gain a deeper understanding of the paradox and its significance. In the final part, we will reflect on the broader implications of the Bootstrap Paradox, including its impact on our understanding of reality, time, and causality. We will also consider how the paradox informs our understanding of time travel and its potential consequences. The final part of the Bootstrap Paradox script explores its broader implications and reflections on reality, time, and causality. By examining the paradox's impact on our understanding of these concepts, we gain insight into the challenges and questions it raises. One significant implication of the Bootstrap Paradox is its impact on our understanding of reality. The paradox challenges the notion that objects and information must have a clear origin. By presenting a scenario where an object or piece of information exists in a causal loop, the paradox raises questions about the nature of existence and the origin of objects. It prompts us to reconsider our assumptions about how things come into being, and whether the concept of an initial cause is essential for understanding reality. The paradox also has implications for our understanding of time. The Bootstrap Paradox suggests that time is not always linear, and that events can loop back on themselves. This nonlinear perspective challenges our conventional understanding of time as a straightforward progression from past to present to future. The paradox invites us to explore alternative views of time, such as cyclical or multidimensional models, which may better accommodate the complexities of causal loops. In terms of causality, the Bootstrap Paradox disrupts the traditional notion that every effect must have a cause and every cause must precede its effect. The paradox creates a situation where cause and effect are intertwined in a loop, challenging the linear causality that underpins classical physics. This disruption raises questions about the nature of causality and whether our understanding of cause and effect needs to be revised to accommodate scenarios involving time travel and causal loops. The Bootstrap Paradox also informs our understanding of time travel and its potential consequences. If time travel and causal loops are possible, they could lead to complex and paradoxical outcomes that challenge our conventional understanding of the universe. The paradox prompts us to consider the potential effects of time travel on reality and how it might influence the course of events. It also raises questions about the feasibility and stability of time travel scenarios, and whether they can exist without creating contradictions or inconsistencies. Finally, the paradox encourages us to reflect on the nature of knowledge and information. By presenting a scenario where information exists in a causal loop, the paradox challenges our understanding of how knowledge is created and transmitted. It raises questions about the role of information in shaping reality and whether our current models of knowledge are sufficient to explain complex scenarios involving time travel. In conclusion, the Bootstrap Paradox provides a rich and thought-provoking exploration of time, causality, and reality. By examining its implications, we gain insight into the challenges and questions it raises about our understanding of these concepts. The paradox invites us to reconsider our assumptions and explore new perspectives on time travel and its potential consequences. The Sorites Paradox, also known as the paradox of the heap, presents a fascinating and perplexing challenge to our understanding of categories, definitions, and the concept of vagueness. This paradox, which has intrigued philosophers for centuries, highlights the difficulty of drawing precise boundaries in situations where small incremental changes seem to defy clear-cut classification. To grasp the essence of this paradox, we must first explore its origins, the nature of vagueness, and how these concepts apply to the Sorites Paradox. The Sorites Paradox derives its name from the Greek word soros, meaning heap. It is traditionally attributed to the ancient Greek philosopher Eubulides of Miletus, who posed the paradox in the context of determining when a mind-bending paradox's 32 collection of grains of sand becomes a heap. The classic formulation of the paradox goes something like this: a single grain of sand does not constitute a heap. Adding one grain of sand to something that is not a heap does not turn it into a heap. By repeating this process, it seems that no matter how many grains of sand are added, a heap will never form. The paradox arises when we consider that, at some point, a collection of grains of sand undeniably becomes a heap. Yet, according to the logic of the paradox, it is impossible to specify the exact moment or number of grains at which this transformation occurs. This lack of a precise threshold challenges our understanding of how we define categories and how gradual changes can lead to significant differences. At the heart of the Sorites Paradox lies the concept of vagueness. Vagueness occurs when the boundaries of a concept or category are not clearly defined, leading to borderline cases where it is unclear whether something fits within a particular classification. In the case of the Sorites Paradox, the term heap is inherently vague because it lacks a precise definition regarding the minimum number of grains of sand required to form a heap. Vagueness is not limited to heaps of sand. It permeates many aspects of language and thought. For example, consider the terms tall, rich, or old. Each of these adjectives is vague because there is no definitive point at which someone becomes tall, rich, or old. The Sorites Paradox can be applied to these concepts as well. If $1 does not make a person rich and adding one more dollar does not make them rich, then at what point do they become rich? Similarly, if a person who is 20 years old is not old, and adding 1 year to their age does not make them old, when do they become old? The Sorites Paradox demonstrates the challenges posed by vagueness in logical reasoning. It forces us to confront the limitations of traditional logic, which typically operates on the assumption that categories are clearly defined and that every statement can be classified as either true or false. However, when dealing with vague concepts, this binary approach breaks down, leading to paradoxical situations like the Sorites Paradox. One might attempt to resolve the paradox by insisting that there must be a specific number of grains of sand at which a heap emerges, even if we cannot determine it. However, this solution is unsatisfactory because it fails to account for the continuous nature of the transition from non-heap to heap. The paradox persists because our language and concepts do not neatly align with the gradations of reality. The implications of the Sorites Paradox extend beyond the specific example of a heap of sand. It raises broader questions about how we use language, how we define categories, and how we understand the world around us. The paradox challenges the idea that every concept must have clear and precise boundaries, suggesting instead that many of our concepts are inherently vague and resistant to strict classification. Moreover, the Sorites Paradox invites us to reconsider the nature of logic itself. If traditional logic cannot accommodate the vagueness that is so prevalent in everyday language and thought, then perhaps new forms of logic are needed to address these challenges. This paradox has prompted philosophers to explore alternative approaches to reasoning that can better handle vagueness and the complexities of categorization. The Sorites Paradox challenges more than just our conceptual understanding of categories. It also forces us to confront fundamental issues in logic, semantics, and the philosophy of language. The paradox suggests that the traditional tools of logic might be inadequate when dealing with vague concepts, and this has led to various philosophical responses aimed at resolving, or at least better understanding, the dilemma it presents. Classical logic operates on the principle of bivalence, which asserts that any given statement must be either true or false. This principle underpins much of our reasoning, from mathematics to everyday decision-making. However, the Sorites Paradox exposes a significant limitation of bivalence. It struggles to account for cases where a statement does not clearly fit into either category. For example, in the context of the Sorites Paradox, the statement, "This is a heap of sand," might not comfortably fit into true or false when dealing with a borderline case of, say, 50 grains of sand. Is it a heap or isn't it? The paradox forces us to ask whether every statement about the world can really be classified as strictly true or false, or whether there are some cases where this binary distinction breaks down. Several philosophical theories have been proposed to address the issues of vagueness and the Sorites Paradox. One approach is epistemicism, which suggests that there is in fact a precise cutoff point between a heap and a non-heap, but this point is unknowable to us. According to epistemicists, the vagueness of terms like heap arises from our lack of knowledge about the exact conditions that define the concept. While this view preserves the law of excluded middle, every statement is either true or false, it posits that our inability to identify the boundary is due to epistemic limitations, not the absence of a boundary itself. Another approach is fuzzy logic, which rejects the idea that every statement must be true or false. Instead, fuzzy logic introduces degrees of truth, allowing a statement to be partially true or partially false. In the case of the Sorites Paradox, rather than asking whether a collection of sand grains is or is not a heap, fuzzy logic would assess the degree to which the collection is a heap. For example, a small pile might be considered 30% heap, while a larger pile might be 70% heap. This approach aligns more closely with our intuitive understanding of gradations in vague concepts and offers a more flexible framework for reasoning about them. Supervaluationism is another response to the paradox. It holds that while vague terms may not have precise boundaries, we can still reason about them consistently by considering all possible ways of making them precise, known as precisifications. A statement is true if it is true under every precisification, false if false under every precisification, and otherwise it is indeterminate. In the context of the Sorites Paradox, supervaluationism would say that while there may be no single clear boundary between heap and non-heap, we can still use the term meaningfully by understanding that some cases are borderline and others are not. The Sorites Paradox also has broader implications for how we think about language and meaning. If our language is filled with vague terms that cannot be precisely defined, this suggests that much of our reasoning is based on concepts that are, at their core, imprecise. This raises questions about the nature of meaning itself. Are meanings fixed and determinate, or are they fluid and context-dependent? Some philosophers, such as Wittgenstein, have argued that the meaning of a word is not determined by a fixed set of criteria, but by its use in language. According to this view, the concept of a heap is defined not by an exact number of grains of sand, but by how the word is used in various contexts. This perspective shifts the focus from trying to find precise boundaries to understanding how language functions in practice, acknowledging that vagueness is an inherent part of linguistic communication. Another important consideration is the role of context in resolving vagueness. In many cases, what counts as a heap or any other vague category depends on the context in which the term is used. For example, in the context of cleaning a beach, a small pile of sand might be considered a heap, whereas in the context of building a sandcastle, the same pile might not be. This suggests that vagueness might be less about the inherent properties of objects and more about how we categorize and interpret them in different situations. Contextualism, the view that context determines the meaning of vague terms, offers a way to navigate the Sorites Paradox by acknowledging that our judgments about categories are often influenced by situational factors. This approach emphasizes the flexibility of language and the importance of considering the practical circumstances in which terms are applied. The Sorites Paradox not only presents a challenge to classical logic and philosophy of language, but also has significant implications for how we approach problems of categorization, decision-making, and even ethical dilemmas. The paradox forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that many of the categories we rely on in daily life are not as clear-cut as they seem. This realization has led to various proposed solutions, each attempting to reconcile the paradox's challenges with our intuitive understanding of the world. The Sorites Paradox has profound practical implications, particularly in fields that require precise decision-making, such as law, medicine, and ethics. For instance, consider a legal context where laws often depend on vague terms like reasonable, sufficient, or negligent. The ambiguity inherent in these terms can lead to borderline cases where it is unclear how the law should be applied. The Sorites Paradox highlights how small incremental changes, like the number of grains of sand, can lead to significant consequences in such cases. In medical ethics, the paradox can emerge in end-of-life care decisions, where terms like quality of life or terminal are often used. These concepts are not always precisely defined, and small changes in a patient's condition might not clearly indicate a shift from one category to another. This ambiguity can make it difficult for doctors, patients, and families to make informed decisions, as the criteria for what constitutes quality of life can be subjective and context-dependent. Moreover, the paradox is relevant in public policy, where decisions often depend on classifications like poverty or risk. In these cases, policymakers must draw lines based on quantitative measures, but the Sorites Paradox reminds us that such lines are often arbitrary. For example, deciding who qualifies for financial aid or who is at risk from a particular environmental hazard involves drawing boundaries that may not align with the continuous nature of the underlying conditions. The Sorites Paradox also raises ethical questions, particularly in the context of gradualism, the idea that small changes over time can lead to significant differences. In ethical discussions, gradualism often comes into play in debates about actions that seem morally permissible in isolation but could lead to undesirable outcomes when repeated or accumulated. This is sometimes referred to as the slippery slope argument. Consider the issue of honesty. Telling a single seemingly harmless lie might not appear to have significant moral consequences. However, the Sorites Paradox suggests that if we continue to tell small lies, at what point does this behavior become morally unacceptable? The paradox challenges us to consider whether there is a precise moment when a series of small, morally neutral actions cross a threshold and become unethical. This problem is also evident in environmental ethics, where small incremental actions such as pollution or resource depletion may not seem harmful on their own, but can lead to significant environmental damage over time. The Sorites Paradox forces us to confront the difficulty of identifying when a series of seemingly insignificant actions leads to a significant ethical breach, raising mind-bending paradoxes. 37. Questions about our responsibility to consider the cumulative effects of our behavior. In seeking to resolve the Sorites Paradox, some philosophers and logicians have turned to alternatives to classical logic. One such approach is contextualism, which suggests that the truth value of statements about vague terms depends on the context in which they are made. According to this view, whether a collection of grains of sand counts as a heap might vary depending on factors such as the speaker's intentions, the purpose of the conversation, or the standards of the community. Contextualism allows for flexibility in reasoning, acknowledging that our judgments about vague terms are often context-sensitive. This approach offers a pragmatic solution to the Sorites Paradox by allowing for different interpretations of vague terms in different situations, rather than insisting on a single, fixed boundary for concepts like heap. Another approach is paraconsistent logic, which allows for contradictions to coexist without leading to logical explosion, where everything becomes true. In the context of the Sorites Paradox, paraconsistent logic would permit the acceptance that a collection of sand grains could both be a heap and not be a heap depending on how we interpret the terms. This approach challenges traditional notions of consistency in logic, but offers a way to navigate the paradox without forcing a definitive resolution. The Sorites Paradox also has implications for artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, particularly in the development of algorithms that must categorize data or make decisions based on vague criteria. AI systems often rely on binary classifications, but the Sorites Paradox suggests that these systems may struggle with concepts that do not have clear boundaries. For example, an AI designed to detect spam emails must determine at what point a series of borderline cases, emails that are somewhat suspicious but not clearly spam, should be classified as spam. The paradox highlights the challenge of programming machines to handle vague categories, as the criteria for classification might not always be clear-cut. This raises questions about the limitations of AI in dealing with the subtleties of human language and decision-making, where vagueness is a common feature. The Sorites Paradox serves as a powerful reminder of the complexities and ambiguities that permeate our everyday concepts and reasoning. By exposing the difficulties in drawing clear boundaries within vague categories, the paradox challenges the foundations of classical logic, forcing us to reconsider how we categorize, make decisions, and apply ethical principles. The various philosophical responses, from epistemicism to fuzzy logic and contextualism, offer different ways of understanding and addressing vagueness, each highlighting the need for flexibility and nuance in our thinking. Whether in law, ethics, or technology, the Sorites Paradox compels us to recognize that many of the distinctions we rely on are not as precise as they seem, urging us to approach such challenges with greater awareness and sensitivity. As we continue to grapple with the implications of vagueness, the paradox remains a central puzzle, inviting ongoing exploration and reflection. Paradox of unexpected examination. The paradox of the unexpected examination is a logical puzzle that explores the tension between prediction and surprise. It begins with a teacher's announcement to a class that they will have an exam sometime during the upcoming week, but it will be a surprise. The paradox challenges students to reconcile the notion of an exam being both scheduled and unpredictable. The scenario starts with the teacher declaring that the exam will be given on one day during the week, but it will be a surprise to the students. The key condition is that the exam must occur on a day that the students do not expect. The student's task is to determine the day of the exam based on this information. To begin with, students might reason about the possible days for the exam. If they consider Friday as a potential exam day, they realize that by Thursday evening, if the exam has not yet occurred, it must be on Friday. This realization means that the exam would no longer be a surprise as they would have anticipated it. Given this reasoning, the students might then rule out Friday as a possibility. They would apply the same logic to Thursday, reasoning that if the exam has not occurred by Wednesday, it must be on Thursday. This process of elimination continues backward through the week, leading students to conclude that the exam cannot occur on any day of the week. This logical deduction seems flawless at first glance. If the exam cannot occur on any of the days, the students might believe that the teacher's announcement is self-contradictory. Yet, if the teacher administers the exam on, say, Wednesday, it would indeed be a surprise. This outcome contradicts the student's logical conclusion that no day can satisfy the surprise condition. The paradox lies in the conflict between the student's reasoning and the actual outcome. The student's logical elimination of each day based on the surprise condition results in a contradiction when an unexpected exam occurs. This paradox raises important questions about how we understand prediction and surprise, particularly when faced with conditions that seem to preclude the very event they are meant to describe. The essence of the paradox of the unexpected examination is to explore the limitations of our logical reasoning when applied to scenarios involving both predictability and surprise. It challenges our intuitions about how we predict events and how those predictions intersect with the notion of an unexpected occurrence. In this paradox, the logical process of elimination leads to a conclusion that seems to be at odds with the actual outcome, providing a compelling insight into the complexities of prediction and expectation. Expanding on the paradox of the unexpected examination, we delve deeper into the concepts of knowledge, expectation, and self-reference that underpin the paradox. The puzzle offers a unique perspective on how these elements interact to create a seemingly contradictory situation. One key concept to explore is self-referential reasoning. The paradox involves a self-referential loop where the student's knowledge of the teacher's announcement influences their reasoning about the exam. The teacher's condition that the exam will be a surprise creates a situation where students' attempts to predict the exam day actually affect their ability to be surprised. This self-referential nature of the paradox complicates the logical reasoning process, leading to an outcome that appears contradictory. The paradox also highlights the concept of epistemic uncertainty, which refers to the uncertainty arising from our lack of complete knowledge. In this scenario, the student's reasoning is based on their incomplete knowledge of when the exam will occur. This uncertainty leads them to eliminate all possible days, yet the exam can still occur on a day they thought was impossible. The paradox reveals how epistemic uncertainty can lead to surprising outcomes, even when logical reasoning seems to provide a clear answer. Another relevant concept is confirmation bias, where individuals tend to seek out information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs or expectations. In the paradox, the student's elimination of days based on the surprise condition reflects a form of confirmation bias. They are looking for a day that aligns with the condition of surprise, but end up ruling out all possibilities. This bias influences their reasoning and contributes to the paradoxical result. The paradox can also be examined through the lens of decision theory. In decision-making, individuals often use logical reasoning to predict and plan for future events. However, the paradox of the unexpected examination demonstrates how prediction can be complicated by conditions of surprise. Decision theory emphasizes the importance of considering uncertainty and the potential for unexpected outcomes, highlighting the limitations of static reasoning models. To further understand the paradox, we can explore the concept of dynamic prediction models, which incorporate changing information and real-time updates. Unlike static models, which rely on fixed assumptions, dynamic models account for the evolving nature of predictions. The paradox illustrates how static reasoning can lead to contradictions when faced with conditions involving surprise and uncertainty. By examining the paradox through these various lenses, we gain a deeper understanding of how knowledge, expectation, and self-reference interact to create a complex and counterintuitive scenario. The paradox challenges our intuitive grasp of prediction and highlights the limitations of logical reasoning when dealing with unexpected outcomes. In exploring the broader implications of the paradox of the unexpected examination, we address its philosophical, practical, and educational significance. The paradox offers valuable insights into how we understand and manage prediction, surprise, and uncertainty in various contexts. One important philosophical consideration is the nature of knowledge and prediction. The paradox challenges the idea that complete knowledge or logical reasoning can fully account for future events. It highlights the limitations of our ability to predict outcomes, especially when the conditions involve elements of surprise. This insight prompts us to reconsider our assumptions about knowledge and prediction, and to acknowledge the inherent uncertainties in our understanding of the future. The paradox also has practical implications for decision-making and risk management. In real-world scenarios, decision-makers must account for uncertainty and prepare for unexpected outcomes. The paradox of the unexpected examination illustrates the challenges of managing expectations and preparing for surprises. It underscores the importance of being adaptable and open to unforeseen events, even when logical reasoning seems to provide a clear picture. In the field of education, the paradox raises questions about the use of surprise assessments and their effectiveness. While surprise exams can motivate students and test their preparedness, the paradox prompts educators to consider how to balance surprise with clarity and fairness in evaluation. It encourages a re-evaluation of assessment practices and their impact on students' learning experiences. The paradox also invites reflection on the psychological aspects of surprise and expectation. Our expectations shape how we perceive and respond to events. The paradox of the unexpected examination demonstrates how our mental models and expectations can influence our experiences of surprise. This insight has implications for understanding human behavior and how we manage our expectations in various contexts. Finally, the paradox serves as a reminder of the intricate nature of logical reasoning and its limitations. While logical frameworks can provide valuable insights, they are not always equipped to handle scenarios involving surprise and uncertainty. The paradox challenges us to recognize the boundaries of logic and to explore alternative approaches for understanding and managing unexpected outcomes. In conclusion, the paradox of the unexpected examination provides valuable insights into prediction, surprise, and knowledge. By examining the paradox from philosophical, practical, and educational perspectives, we gain a deeper understanding of how we approach and interpret unexpected events. The paradox serves as a reminder of the complexities and limitations of logical reasoning and the importance of being prepared for surprises in various aspects of life. Hempel Paradox. Hempel's paradox, or the paradox of the ravens, provides a compelling exploration of how we understand and interpret evidence in relation to hypotheses. At its core, the paradox challenges our intuitions about what counts as supporting evidence for a given hypothesis. The paradox begins with a simple hypothesis: all ravens are black. This hypothesis can be tested by observing ravens. If we see a raven and it is black, this observation supports the hypothesis. But the paradox deepens when we consider the implications of observing non-ravens. According to classical confirmation theory, evidence should confirm or disconfirm a hypothesis. For instance, if we observe a black raven, this seems to support our hypothesis that all ravens are black. This is straightforward and aligns with our expectations. However, Hempel's paradox introduces a twist. It suggests that not only does observing a black raven support the hypothesis, but so does observing an object that is not a raven and is black, such as a black cat or a black car. This is because observing a non-raven that is black does not contradict the hypothesis and therefore indirectly supports it. The paradox becomes even more intriguing when we consider observations that are not black. For example, observing a green apple, an object that is neither a raven nor black, should, according to the paradox, also support the hypothesis that all ravens are black. This seems counterintuitive, as observing a green apple has no direct relation to the color of ravens. To understand why this is the case, we need to delve into the logic of confirmation theory. The paradox is based on the idea that confirming a universal statement like all ravens are black involves finding evidence that is consistent with the statement. A green apple does not contradict the hypothesis, and therefore, according to the principles of confirmation theory, it adds some support to it. This counterintuitive result challenges our understanding of how evidence works. It forces us to reconsider how we think about the relevance of observations in supporting or refuting hypotheses. It also highlights the complexities involved in logical reasoning and the interpretation of evidence. In the next part, we will analyze the philosophical and logical implications of Hempel's paradox. We will explore how it affects our understanding of evidence and confirmation, and consider examples and counterexamples that help illuminate the paradox. Part 2. To fully grasp Hempel's paradox, we need to delve into its philosophical and logical implications. The paradox challenges our traditional notions of evidence and raises questions about the nature of confirmation. One key aspect of the paradox is the idea of confirmation by observation. According to classical confirmation theory, any observation that does not contradict the hypothesis can be considered as confirming evidence. This principle leads to the surprising result that observing non-black objects, like green apples, can support the hypothesis that all ravens are black. The paradox highlights the problem of relevance in confirmation theory. While observing a green apple might technically support the hypothesis, it seems irrelevant to the specific question of whether all ravens are black. This disconnection between the observation and the hypothesis raises questions about what counts as meaningful evidence. Counterexamples provide additional insight into the paradox. Consider the following scenarios. Observation of a black cat. Observing a black cat supports the hypothesis that all ravens are black, according to confirmation theory. This makes sense because a black cat is consistent with the hypothesis, even though it is not a raven. Observation of a green apple. Observing a green apple also supports the hypothesis. However, this is less intuitive, as the green apple is neither a raven nor black. The connection between the observation and the hypothesis is less direct, which challenges our understanding of how evidence should work. Observation of a white raven. If we were to observe a white raven, this would directly contradict the hypothesis that all ravens are black. This example clearly refutes the hypothesis, demonstrating that evidence can be straightforwardly disconfirming. The paradox also raises questions about confirmation holism, the idea that hypotheses are confirmed or disconfirmed in conjunction with other related beliefs. Hempel's paradox suggests that the support provided by observations might not be as straightforward as it appears. It challenges us to think about how we interpret evidence in the context of broader theories and beliefs. Furthermore, the paradox invites us to reconsider the nature of scientific hypotheses. In scientific practice, hypotheses are typically tested through direct observations and experiments. Hempel's paradox reminds us that while formal logic might suggest that any non-contradictory observation supports a hypothesis, practical considerations often require us to focus on more relevant and directly related evidence. In the next part, we will explore the broader implications of Hempel's paradox and its impact on our understanding of evidence and confirmation. We will reflect on how the paradox influences scientific reasoning and consider potential strategies for addressing the challenges it presents. Hempel's paradox has profound implications for our understanding of evidence and scientific reasoning. It challenges conventional views on how evidence supports hypotheses and prompts us to rethink the principles of confirmation theory. One significant implication of the paradox is the need for contextual relevance in evidence evaluation. While formal logic might suggest that any observation that does not contradict a hypothesis supports it, practical scientific reasoning requires a focus on relevant and contextually meaningful evidence. For instance, in scientific research, hypotheses are typically tested through controlled experiments and observations that directly relate to the hypothesis in question. The paradox underscores the importance of considering how evidence is relevant to the specific hypotheses being tested. The paradox also highlights the limitations of formal confirmation theory. While Hempel's paradox demonstrates that any non-contradictory observation can theoretically support a hypothesis, it also reveals the limitations of applying formal logic to complex real-world scenarios. In practice, scientists and researchers often need to balance logical consistency with practical relevance and empirical significance. The scientific method emphasizes the importance of hypothesis testing through direct and relevant observations, while Hempel's paradox illustrates that any observation not contradicting a hypothesis might provide some level of confirmation. It also emphasizes the need for meaningful and targeted evidence. Researchers must ensure that their observations are directly related to the hypothesis and that they contribute to a coherent and relevant body of evidence. Hempel's paradox also relates to the concept of confirmation bias, where individuals may seek out or emphasize evidence that supports their existing beliefs while overlooking contradictory evidence. The paradox highlights the importance of being mindful of how evidence is interpreted and ensuring that it is relevant and substantive. It serves as a reminder to approach evidence with a critical and balanced perspective, rather than relying solely on formal logical consistency. The paradox has implications for theory building and scientific practice. It prompts us to consider how theories are developed and tested, and how evidence is integrated into theoretical frameworks. While formal logic provides valuable insights into the nature of confirmation, real-world theory building requires a nuanced understanding of evidence and its relevance to the hypotheses being explored. In summary, Hempel's paradox challenges our intuitive understanding of evidence and confirmation. It highlights the complexities involved in evaluating evidence and underscores the importance of contextual relevance in scientific reasoning. By reflecting on the implications of the paradox, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the nuances of evidence evaluation and the principles underlying scientific inquiry. Paradox of hanging. The paradox of the unexpected hanging, also known as the unexpected examination paradox, is a captivating logical puzzle that explores the nature of prediction and surprise. The paradox is framed around a seemingly straightforward scenario involving a judge, a prisoner, and the concept of an unexpected event. The core of the paradox lies in understanding how an event can be both predictable and unexpected at the same time, challenging our intuitive grasp of logic and foresight. Imagine a judge informs a condemned prisoner that he will be hanged at noon on one weekday in the following week, but that the execution will be a surprise to the prisoner. The judge adds that the execution cannot be predicted in advance, meaning that the prisoner will not know the day of the hanging until the execution day itself. This stipulation sets up a situation that seems straightforward at first, but becomes increasingly perplexing as we delve into its implications. To begin with, the prisoner reasons about the hanging's timing and tries to deduce when the execution might take place. The prisoner first eliminates Friday from consideration. If the hanging were to occur on Friday, it would not be a surprise. By Thursday evening, if the prisoner has not been hanged, he would know that the hanging must occur on Friday, which contradicts the condition of the surprise. Following this logic, the prisoner eliminates Thursday as well. If the prisoner has not been hanged by Wednesday evening, then Thursday becomes the only possible day left. But if Thursday were the hanging day, the prisoner would know by Wednesday evening that the hanging must be on Thursday, violating the surprise condition. Extending this reasoning backwards, the prisoner eliminates Wednesday, Tuesday, and finally Monday. If the prisoner has survived until the end of Monday, then he would be able to predict the hanging day as Tuesday, which again breaks the surprise rule. Thus, by this process of elimination, the prisoner concludes that the hanging cannot occur on any day of the week. However, this reasoning leads to an apparent contradiction. If the prisoner concludes that the hanging cannot occur, yet the judge carries out the hanging on, say, Wednesday, the event would indeed be a surprise to the prisoner, despite his logical deduction that it could not happen. The paradox thus arises from the conflict between the prisoner's logical deduction and the actual occurrence of the event. On one hand, the prisoner has reasoned that the hanging cannot occur because of the surprise condition. On the other hand, if the hanging does take place on a day that the prisoner has ruled out, it will be a genuine surprise, revealing a fundamental flaw in the prisoner's reasoning. This paradox taps into deeper philosophical questions about prediction and knowledge. It challenges the concept of what it means to predict an event and how surprise can coexist with logical deduction. The prisoner's logical elimination of each day based on the condition of surprise demonstrates a type of reasoning that seems flawless but ultimately fails to account for the actual outcome. This illustrates how certain logical frameworks might lead to seemingly contradictory results when applied to specific conditions. In essence, the paradox of the unexpected hanging invites us to question the nature of surprise and the limits of logical prediction. It underscores the complexity of understanding events that are described as both predictable and unexpected, revealing the intricate interplay between knowledge, expectation, and actual outcomes. To further explore the paradox of the unexpected hanging, we need to delve into the nature of logical reasoning and the conditions under which surprises can occur. One key aspect of this paradox is the concept of self-referential statements and how they influence our understanding of prediction. The paradox challenges us to consider how self-referential reasoning can lead to apparent contradictions. The prisoner's reasoning process is a form of self-referential logic. By attempting to predict the hanging day, the prisoner creates a loop of reasoning that ultimately undermines the very condition he is trying to satisfy, the element of surprise. This type of reasoning is central to the paradox, as it highlights the tension between deductive logic and the inherent unpredictability of certain outcomes. To better understand the paradox, let's examine it through the lens of epistemic logic, the study of knowledge and belief. In epistemic logic, we often encounter scenarios where the knowledge or beliefs of individuals can lead to surprising or counterintuitive outcomes. The paradox of the unexpected hanging exemplifies how the prisoner's knowledge, or lack thereof, about the timing of the hanging interacts with the concept of surprise. Number 1. Consider the situation where the prisoner is informed of the hanging but lacks any specific information about the exact day. The prisoner's attempt to deduce the day through logical elimination reflects a form of predictive reasoning, where the individual tries to anticipate an outcome based on given conditions. However, this type of reasoning can lead to paradoxical results when the conditions themselves involve elements of uncertainty or surprise. The paradox can also be related to Gödel's incompleteness theorems, which address the limitations of formal systems and their ability to prove certain statements. Gödel's theorem suggests that within any sufficiently complex formal system, there are true statements that cannot be proven within that system. Similarly, in the paradox of the unexpected hanging, the prisoner's logical system for predicting the hanging day is incomplete. The system fails to account for the possibility that the hanging could occur on a day previously ruled out, demonstrating a limitation in the prisoner's deductive approach. Another useful concept is game theory, which examines strategic interactions and decision-making. In game theory, the prisoner's situation resembles a game with specific rules and constraints. The judge's announcement sets up a game where the prisoner's objective is to predict an event under certain conditions. The game's outcome, the surprise hanging, illustrates how the strategic interactions between knowledge and prediction can lead to unexpected results. Exploring the paradox through these various lenses reveals the complexity of understanding surprise and prediction. The interplay between logical reasoning, epistemic knowledge, and game theory highlights the multifaceted nature of the paradox and its implications for our understanding of how we approach predictions and expectations. Ultimately, the paradox of the unexpected hanging invites us to reflect on the nature of knowledge and prediction. It challenges us to reconsider how we understand events that involve elements of surprise and to recognize the limitations of logical reasoning when dealing with such events. By examining the paradox from different perspectives, we gain a deeper appreciation of the intricate relationship between logic, knowledge, and unexpected outcomes. To fully appreciate the implications of the paradox of the unexpected hanging, we should consider how the paradox impacts our broader understanding of surprise and expectation. This paradox not only challenges our intuitions about prediction, but also offers insights into how we process and respond to unexpected events. One interesting aspect to explore is the idea of psychological surprise. The paradox highlights that an event can be genuinely surprising even when it seems logically predictable. This notion of psychological surprise is different from mere logical unpredictability. Psychological surprise involves an emotional and cognitive reaction to an event that defies our expectations or mental models. In the context of the paradox, the prisoner's psychological response to the surprise hanging underscores how emotional reactions can differ from logical predictions. Another relevant concept is the idea of dynamic prediction models. In real-world scenarios, prediction models often account for changing information and evolving conditions. The paradox of the unexpected hanging demonstrates the limitations of static prediction models that do not adapt to new information or unexpected outcomes. Dynamic models, which incorporate real-time feedback and adjustments, offer a more nuanced approach to prediction and surprise, addressing some of the challenges highlighted by the paradox. The paradox also prompts reflection on the nature of expectation management. In various contexts, from personal decisions to organizational strategies, managing expectations is crucial for achieving desired outcomes and preparing for potential surprises. The paradox of the unexpected hanging illustrates how expectations can be shaped by both logical reasoning and emotional factors, affecting how we respond to unexpected events. To further understand the paradox, we can consider philosophical implications related to the nature of time and causality. The paradox challenges our understanding of how time and causality interact with prediction. If an event is said to be a surprise, it implies that it defies our causal expectations. This raises questions about how we conceive of causality and whether our understanding of cause and effect can be reconciled with the notion of surprise. The practical applications of the paradox extend to fields such as decision theory and risk management. In decision-making, understanding how surprises can arise despite careful planning and analysis is crucial for managing risks and making informed choices. The paradox emphasizes the importance of being prepared for unexpected outcomes and recognizing the limitations of our predictive abilities. Finally, the paradox invites us to consider the philosophical nature of reality and our perceptions of it. By examining how surprise and prediction intersect with our understanding of reality, we gain insights into the broader philosophical questions of how we perceive and interpret the world around us. The paradox challenges us to reconcile our logical frameworks with the unpredictable nature of reality, fostering a deeper appreciation of the complexity of existence. In conclusion, the paradox of the unexpected hanging offers profound insights into the nature of prediction, surprise, and expectation. By exploring the paradox through various perspectives, including psychological, dynamic, and philosophical dimensions, we gain a richer understanding of how we approach and respond to unexpected events. The paradox serves as a reminder of the intricate interplay between logic, knowledge, and reality, challenging us to rethink our assumptions and expand our understanding of these fundamental concepts. Paradox of perfect murder. To understand the paradox of the perfect murder, we must first define what we mean by perfection in this context. In theory, a perfect murder is one where the perpetrator manages to commit the crime without leaving any evidence, without any witnesses, and without any chance of being caught. This implies an ideal scenario where all aspects of the crime are controlled and executed flawlessly. Defining perfection in crime. A perfect murder would not leave any physical evidence, such as fingerprints, DNA, or any forensic traces. It would involve the complete absence of any material clues that could link the perpetrator to the crime. The crime would be carried out in such a way that no one would see or hear anything that could implicate the perpetrator. This includes avoiding any surveillance or electronic monitoring that might capture the act. The perpetrator would not have any discernible motive or opportunity that could lead investigators to suspect them. This includes ensuring that the crime does not fit any known patterns or involve any personal connections to the victim. Theoretical considerations. Achieving perfection in a crime requires meticulous planning and flawless execution. The perpetrator would need to anticipate and counter every possible scenario that could lead to detection. One key consideration is human error. Even the most careful plans can be disrupted by unforeseen factors or mistakes. This introduces a level of uncertainty that challenges the idea of a truly perfect crime. The notion of a perfect murder is inherently paradoxical because the concept of perfection in criminal acts assumes a level of control and execution that may be inherently unattainable. In practice, achieving a crime without any evidence or trace of involvement is extremely challenging, if not impossible. Philosophical implications. Nature of perfection. Philosophically, the idea of a perfect murder raises questions about the nature of perfection itself. Is perfection an attainable goal, or is it an ideal that is inherently unattainable? Ethical considerations. The paradox also raises ethical questions about the nature of crime and morality. Even if a murder could be committed perfectly, does this make the act morally justifiable or acceptable in any way? The paradox of the perfect murder highlights the complexities involved in committing a crime without leaving any evidence or trace. In the next part, we will explore the implications of this paradox for the understanding of crime and justice, including real-world examples and theoretical considerations. The paradox of the perfect murder has significant implications for our understanding of crime, justice, and the concept of perfection. To fully appreciate these implications, we must consider real-world examples and theoretical considerations that challenge the feasibility of committing a perfect murder. Real-world examples. Throughout history, there have been numerous cases where individuals attempted to commit crimes with the goal of avoiding detection. Some infamous cases include the so-called perfect crimes that have garnered significant media attention. However, in many of these cases, what was initially thought to be a perfect crime eventually unraveled due to unforeseen evidence or investigative breakthroughs. Advances in forensic technology and investigative techniques have made it increasingly difficult to commit a crime without leaving any evidence. Modern tools such as DNA analysis, digital forensics, and surveillance technology have significantly reduced the likelihood of achieving a perfect murder. Even seemingly minor evidence, such as digital footprints or trace materials, can be crucial in solving a crime. Theoretical considerations. The concept of a perfect murder assumes that all aspects of the crime can be controlled and executed flawlessly. However, in reality, there is always an element of chance involved. Unpredictable factors such as human behavior, environmental conditions, and technical failures can impact the outcome of a crime and make the idea of perfection elusive. The pursuit of a perfect crime raises ethical and legal questions about the nature of justice. Even if a crime were committed without leaving any evidence, the moral and legal implications of the act would remain. The concept of justice involves more than just the detection of crime. It encompasses broader issues of morality, accountability, and societal impact. Impact on the justice system. The pursuit of perfection in criminal acts highlights the importance of effective investigation techniques and the role of forensic science in solving crimes. The justice system continually evolves to address new challenges and incorporate advanced methods for detecting and solving crimes. The paradox also influences legal philosophy and the understanding of culpability. It challenges traditional notions of how justice should be administered and raises questions about the nature of guilt and responsibility. The paradox of the perfect murder serves as a thought experiment that challenges our understanding of crime and justice. It emphasizes the complexity of achieving absolute perfection and highlights the role of chance, technology, and ethics in the criminal justice system. In the final part, we will explore broader reflections on the paradox and its implications for our understanding of human behavior and criminal activity. The paradox of the perfect murder offers valuable insights into human behavior, criminal activity, and the nature of perfection. It challenges our understanding of crime and justice, providing a platform for reflection on the complexities of achieving absolute perfection in any domain. Psychological insights. The desire to commit a perfect crime often stems from psychological motivations, such as a need for control, mastery, or proving one's capabilities. This reflects deeper aspects of human psychology, including the fascination with perfection and the desire to overcome limitations. Human fallibility. The paradox underscores the inherent fallibility of human endeavors. Even the most carefully planned and executed actions are subject to human error and unforeseen factors. This realization highlights the limits of human control and the challenges of achieving perfection in any aspect of life. Implications for criminal activity. The pursuit of a perfect murder reveals the challenges involved in concealing criminal activity. The complexity of hiding evidence, avoiding witnesses, and managing multiple variables makes the idea of a perfect crime increasingly unlikely. The paradox also reflects the evolving nature of crime and justice. As investigative techniques advance and societal norms change, the ways in which crimes are committed and solved continue to evolve. The pursuit of perfection in crime serves as a reminder of the ongoing challenges faced by the justice system. Broader philosophical reflections. Philosophically, the paradox invites reflection on the nature of perfection itself. Is perfection an attainable goal, or is it an ideal that exists only in theory? The paradox challenges us to consider the limits of human aspiration and the role of imperfection in shaping our understanding of reality. The paradox raises ethical questions about the nature of criminal activity and the pursuit of perfection. It prompts us to consider the moral implications of attempting to achieve flawless outcomes and the impact of such pursuits on individuals and society. Impact on society. Cultural perceptions. The concept of the perfect murder influences cultural perceptions of crime and justice. It shapes narratives in literature, media, popular culture, reflecting societal attitudes towards criminal behavior and the quest for perfection. Legal and ethical frameworks. The paradox also informs legal and ethical frameworks, challenging traditional notions of justice and accountability. It encourages ongoing discussions about the nature of criminality, the role of evidence, and the principles of legal and moral responsibility. In summary, the paradox of the perfect murder serves as a thought-provoking exploration of crime, perfection, and human behavior. It highlights the complexities involved in achieving flawless outcomes and provides valuable insights into the nature of justice, ethics, and the limits of human control. By reflecting on the paradox, we gain a deeper appreciation for the challenges and nuances of criminal activity and the pursuit of perfection in any domain. Paradox of self-replicating machines. The concept of a self-replicating machine is a captivating idea that delves into the realms of automation, technology, and the very nature of replication. At its core, a self-replicating machine is designed to create copies of itself without external intervention. This means the machine would use raw materials and energy from its environment to manufacture an exact duplicate of itself, complete with all necessary components and functionality. To grasp this concept, it helps to envision a machine equipped with advanced capabilities. Such a machine would first need to gather raw materials from its surroundings. These materials might include metals, plastics, or other substances essential for constructing its parts. After collecting these resources, the machine would then process them. This processing involves transforming raw materials into precise components through various tasks like cutting, shaping, and assembling. Once the machine has fabricated the necessary parts, it would need to assemble them into a functioning copy of itself. This step requires intricate coordination and precision to ensure that the new machine operates as effectively as the original. Finally, the machine would initiate the replication process again, leading to a chain reaction of machines producing more machines. The theoretical foundation of self-replicating machines can be traced back to the mathematician John von Neumann, who introduced the concept in the 1940s. Von Neumann proposed the idea of a universal constructor, a theoretical machine capable of constructing copies of itself using raw materials. This universal constructor was envisioned not only as a self-replicating entity, but also as a device that could build a wide range of other machines and structures. Von Neumann's work laid the groundwork for subsequent exploration of self-replication in various scientific and technological contexts. In practical applications, the idea of self-replicating machines has sparked significant interest, particularly in fields like nanotechnology and space exploration. For example, in space missions, self-replicating machines could potentially be used to build spacecraft or habitats using resources found in space. This approach could reduce the need for resupply missions from Earth and allow for the creation of infrastructure in extraterrestrial environments. Nanotechnology also explores self-replication at a microscopic scale. Self-replicating nanobots, if realized, could potentially assemble complex structures at the molecular level, leading to advancements in materials science and manufacturing. These tiny machines could revolutionize various industries by enabling the precise construction of materials and devices at unprecedented scales. However, the concept of self-replicating machines is not without its challenges and paradoxes. One of the primary concerns is the requirement for substantial resources. A machine that replicates itself must gather and process large amounts of raw materials. This raises questions about the availability and sustainability of these resources, especially in environments where they are scarce or where the machine operates autonomously. The practical challenges of self-replication are significant and multifaceted. One of the key issues is managing the resources required for replication. A self-replicating machine must be able to efficiently gather raw materials from its environment. This involves not only obtaining the materials, but also processing them into usable components. The efficiency of this process directly impacts the machine's ability to replicate itself effectively. Another major challenge is the potential for uncontrolled replication. If a self-replicating machine were to malfunction, or if its replication process became unregulated, it could lead to a rapid and uncontrolled proliferation of machines. This scenario, often referred to as the gray goo problem, involves the machine consuming all available resources and potentially causing environmental or ecological damage. Such a situation highlights the need for careful control mechanisms to prevent unintended consequences. The complexity of the replication process also poses technical difficulties. Ensuring that every component of the machine is replicated accurately and that the new machine functions correctly is a significant challenge. Any errors or defects in the replication process could compromise the integrity of the entire system, leading to malfunction or failure. This underscores the importance of precision and reliability in the design and operation of self-replicating machines. The implications of self-replicating machines extend beyond technical challenges. They raise philosophical and ethical questions about the nature of replication and automation. If machines can replicate themselves perfectly, what does this mean for human involvement in manufacturing and production? The ability to create machines that can reproduce autonomously could transform our understanding of labor, creativity, and innovation. Moreover, the concept of self-replication invites reflections on the limits of automation and the role of human oversight. As machines become more capable of autonomous functions, including replication, the balance between human control and machine autonomy becomes increasingly important. The potential for machines to act independently raises questions about accountability and responsibility in the context of advanced technologies. The paradox of self-replicating machines also influences our understanding of technological progress and its consequences. While the ability to create machines that can replicate themselves offers exciting possibilities, it also requires careful consideration of potential risks and ethical implications. The challenge lies in harnessing the benefits of self-replication while mitigating potential drawbacks and ensuring that technological advancements align with societal values and goals. The paradox of the self-replicating machine offers a rich field for reflection on the broader implications of technological advancement. As we consider the potential and challenges of self-replicating machines, several key themes emerge that warrant further exploration. One significant theme is the relationship between technology and resource management. The idea of self-replicating machines underscores the importance of efficient resource utilization and sustainability. In practical applications, ensuring that machines can replicate themselves without depleting resources or causing environmental harm is crucial. This involves not only technological innovation, but also careful planning and management to balance the benefits of replication with responsible stewardship of resources. Another theme is the impact of self-replication on societal structures and labor. The ability of machines to replicate themselves autonomously could transform industries and economies, potentially reducing the need for human labor in certain sectors. This raises questions about the future of work, economic inequality, and the role of human creativity and innovation in an increasingly automated world. As machines take on more complex tasks, it is essential to consider how these changes will affect individuals and communities. The philosophical implications of self-replicating machines also invite reflection on the nature of perfection and autonomy. The pursuit of perfect replication challenges our understanding of what constitutes flawless performance and raises questions about the limits of human and machine capabilities. It also prompts us to consider the ethical dimensions of creating machines with the power to replicate themselves and the responsibilities that come with such advancements. Looking ahead, the development of self-replicating machines holds the potential for significant breakthroughs in various fields, including manufacturing, space exploration, and materials science. However, achieving this potential requires addressing the technical, ethical, and philosophical challenges associated with self-replication. As technology continues to advance, it is crucial to approach these developments with a thoughtful and balanced perspective, ensuring that innovations align with broader societal goals and values. In conclusion, the paradox of the self-replicating machine serves as a thought-provoking exploration of technology, replication, and automation. It challenges our understanding of resource management, labor, and the limits of perfection. By examining the potential and challenges of self-replicating machines, we gain valuable insights into the future of technology and its impact on society. Paradox of Ruler. The paradox of the ruler is a thought-provoking philosophical problem that explores the nature of authority, decision-making, and the limits of rationality. At its core, this paradox challenges our understanding of how rules and decisions are made, especially when considering the role of a ruler or authority figure. To begin, imagine a hypothetical scenario where a ruler is tasked with making a decision that impacts their domain. The paradox arises from the complexities involved in this decision-making process and the implications of the ruler's authority. The paradox explores the tension between the ruler's role and the nature of their decisions, questioning whether it is possible for a ruler to make decisions that are truly autonomous and rational. The paradox of the ruler can be illustrated through various examples. One common illustration involves a ruler who must decide between two conflicting policies or courses of action. The decision may require the ruler to weigh different factors such as the welfare of their subjects, economic considerations, and personal preferences. The paradox lies in the challenge of making a decision that is both rational and consistent with the ruler's role. For instance, consider a ruler who must choose between two policies, one that benefits the majority of the population but requires significant sacrifices from a minority, and another that benefits the minority while imposing costs on the majority. The ruler's decision must balance these competing interests and align with their responsibility to act in the best interest of their domain. One key aspect of the paradox is the idea of rationality. Rationality involves making decisions based on logical reasoning and evidence. However, the ruler's decision-making process may be influenced by various factors, including personal biases, political pressures, and the need to maintain authority. This raises questions about whether the ruler can truly make a rational decision in the face of these influences. Another important element is the concept of authority. The ruler's authority is derived from their position and the power granted to them by their role. This authority enables the ruler to make decisions on behalf of their subjects. However, the paradox questions whether this authority is sufficient for making mind-bending paradoxes. 59. Decisions that are genuinely rational and just. If the ruler's authority is based on certain assumptions or limitations, it may impact their ability to make unbiased decisions. The paradox also highlights the challenge of decision-making in complex situations. In real-world scenarios, rulers and leaders often face multifaceted problems that cannot be easily resolved through straightforward reasoning. The need to consider multiple factors and potential consequences adds to the complexity of decision-making, raising questions about the feasibility of achieving rationality in such context. Furthermore, the paradox of the ruler invites us to reflect on the nature of authority and its limitations. It challenges us to consider whether authority alone is sufficient for making sound decisions, or whether other factors such as expertise, ethical considerations, and the input of others play a crucial role. The paradox underscores the importance of examining the interplay between authority, rationality, and decision-making in various contexts. The paradox of the ruler extends beyond theoretical considerations and has practical implications for understanding authority and decision-making. By analyzing the paradox, we can gain insights into the challenges faced by rulers and leaders, as well as the broader implications for governance and leadership. One significant implication of the paradox is the impact of authority on decision-making. In practice, rulers and leaders often make decisions that are influenced by their authority and the power vested in their role. However, the paradox raises questions about whether authority alone can ensure rational and just decision-making. The presence of authority does not necessarily guarantee that decisions will be free from biases or inconsistencies. The paradox also highlights the importance of transparency and accountability in decision-making. Rulers and leaders are often held accountable for their decisions, and the ability to justify and explain these decisions is crucial. The paradox emphasizes the need for decision-making processes that are transparent and subject to scrutiny, ensuring that decisions are based on sound reasoning and evidence rather than solely on the authority of the ruler. Another key aspect of the paradox is the role of expertise and consultation. Rulers and leaders often rely on advisors, experts, and input from various stakeholders when making decisions. The paradox underscores the value of incorporating diverse perspectives and expertise into the decision-making process. By seeking input from others, rulers can enhance the rationality and effectiveness of their decisions, reducing the potential for bias and improving overall outcomes. The paradox also has implications for the design of decision-making systems and structures. In complex situations, it may be beneficial to implement mechanisms that support rational decision-making and mitigate the influence of personal biases. For example, decision-making frameworks that emphasize evidence-based approaches, stakeholder engagement, and accountability can help address some of the challenges highlighted by the paradox. Additionally, the paradox of the ruler raises questions about the limits of authority and the potential for power imbalances. In situations where authority is concentrated in the hands of a few individuals or institutions, there may be a risk of decisions being influenced by personal interests or biases. The paradox encourages us to consider ways to distribute authority more equitably and ensure that decision-making processes are fair and representative. The implications of the paradox extend to various domains, including politics, business, and organizational leadership. Understanding the challenges associated with authority and decision-making can inform strategies for effective leadership and governance. By recognizing the limitations of authority and emphasizing rationality, transparency, and accountability, leaders can navigate complex decisions more effectively and promote positive outcomes. The paradox of the ruler offers valuable insights into the nature of authority, decision-making, and leadership. By examining the paradox, we can explore broader reflections on the role of authority in shaping decisions and the challenges associated with rational decision-making. One important reflection is the relationship between authority and ethical decision-making. The paradox prompts us to consider how ethical principles and values intersect with the exercise of authority. Leaders and rulers have a responsibility to make decisions that align with ethical standards and promote the well-being of their subjects. The paradox highlights the need for ethical considerations to be integrated into decision-making processes, ensuring that authority is used in a manner that is fair and just. Another reflection is the impact of decision-making complexity on leadership effectiveness. In a world characterized by increasing complexity and interconnectedness, leaders face numerous challenges in making decisions that account for diverse factors and potential consequences. The paradox underscores the importance of developing decision-making frameworks that can handle complexity and uncertainty, allowing leaders to make informed and rational choices. The paradox also invites us to think about the role of technology and innovation in decision-making. Advances in technology such as data analytics and artificial intelligence have the potential to enhance decision-making processes by providing valuable insights and supporting evidence-based approaches. However, the paradox reminds us that technology alone cannot address all the challenges associated with decision-making. It is essential to consider the broader context, including ethical and social dimensions, when leveraging technology for decision support. Looking ahead, the paradox of the ruler continues to be relevant in discussions about leadership, governance, and decision-making. As societies evolve and face new challenges, understanding the dynamics of authority and rationality remains crucial. By addressing the insights and implications of the paradox, we can work towards creating decision-making systems that are more effective, equitable, and aligned with ethical principles. In summary, the paradox of the ruler provides a thought-provoking lens through which to examine the complexities of authority and decision-making. It challenges us to consider the limits of authority, the role of rationality, and the importance of transparency and accountability. By reflecting on the paradox and its implications, we gain valuable insights into the nature of leadership and the pursuit of effective and ethical decision-making. Paradox of lottery. Imagine you've just purchased a ticket for an enormous lottery drawing. The chances of winning are incredibly slim. Let's say a mere 1 in 10 million. Despite the overwhelming odds stacked against you, you find yourself filled with excitement and hope. Curiously, when you hold that ticket in your hand, there's a sense of confidence that you just might be the lucky winner. This personal conviction seems oddly rational, even in the face of such astronomical odds. Now let's expand our perspective. In a massive lottery, where each ticket has an infinitesimal chance of winning, every single ticket holder can maintain a sense of optimism about their own prospects. This intriguing phenomenon is known as the paradox of the lottery. The crux of this paradox lies in the stark contrast between the statistically high likelihood of losing and the individual's personal belief that they might emerge victorious. The paradox becomes even more fascinating when we consider the collective outcome. Despite each individual ticket holder nurturing the belief that they might win, the reality is that only one ticket, or perhaps a handful at most, will actually clinch the prize. This creates a striking logical inconsistency. How can we reconcile the fact that so many people harbor the belief that they will win when statistically the vast majority are destined to lose? To illustrate the paradox more vividly, let's envision a lottery with 10 million tickets in circulation. Each ticket carries a 1 in 10 million chance of winning. If every single ticket holder maintains the belief that they will be the fortunate winner, their conviction appears wildly irrational given the overwhelming odds. However, on a personal level, it's somewhat understandable. Each individual is unlikely to contemplate the probability of the entire group losing. Instead, they focus solely on their own ticket and its potential. This paradox shines a spotlight on the intriguing conflict between personal belief and collective statistical reality. It demonstrates how individuals can simultaneously hold seemingly contradictory views. They can believe in their own chance of winning while acknowledging that the majority of ticket holders will inevitably face disappointment. Let's delve deeper into the intricacies of the paradox of the lottery by examining the fascinating interplay between individual belief and statistical reality. Each lottery participant's conviction that they might win is deeply rooted in their personal investment in the outcome. Even though they are intellectually aware of the minuscule probability of winning, their hope burns bright and remains intensely personal. This deeply held personal belief stands in stark contrast to the cold, hard statistical reality. From a purely mathematical standpoint, if there are 10 million tickets in circulation and only one ultimate winner, the probability of winning with any given ticket is astonishingly low. Yet, remarkably, this statistical fact seems to have little impact on the optimistic outlook maintained by each ticket holder. One illuminating approach to understanding this paradox is to consider the concept of subjective versus objective probability. Subjective probability refers to the personal belief or confidence an individual holds regarding an outcome, while objective probability represents the actual mathematical likelihood of an event occurring. In the context of the lottery, the subjective probability for each ticket holder is heavily influenced by their hope and personal investment in the outcome. This subjective perspective can lead to the seemingly irrational belief that their particular ticket somehow possesses a better chance of winning than it objectively does. Conversely, the objective probability reflects the true, exceedingly small chance of winning. This stark disparity between subjective belief and objective probability lies at the heart of the paradox. Individuals cling to their personal chances of success despite being aware of the statistical odds, resulting in an apparent contradiction. The paradox extends beyond mere improbability of winning. It delves into the very nature of rationality and personal belief when confronted with overwhelming odds. The paradox also intersects with fascinating cognitive biases and psychological factors that shape human decision-making. People often exhibit a tendency to overestimate their own chances of success in scenarios with low probabilities, a phenomenon psychologists refer to as the optimism bias. This cognitive bias helps explain why individuals can maintain a rational belief in their potential to win, even when the odds are overwhelmingly stacked against them. The paradox of the lottery opens up a Pandora's box of intriguing questions about human psychology, decision-making processes, and belief systems. It challenges our fundamental understanding of how individuals perceive probabilities and make choices based on those perceptions. One significant implication of this paradox is that it underscores the limitations inherent in purely rational decision-making models. Traditional rational models operate under the assumption that individuals make decisions based solely on objective probabilities. However, the paradox of the lottery demonstrates that personal beliefs and psychological factors can exert a powerful influence on decision-making, often leading to behavior that appears irrational when viewed through the lens of statistical reality. This paradox also carries broader implications for our understanding of how people navigate risk and uncertainty in various aspects of life. Beyond the realm of lotteries, individuals frequently encounter situations where the probability of a desired outcome is extremely low, yet their personal belief in a positive result remains steadfast. This phenomenon can significantly influence behavior across diverse domains, including gambling, investment decisions, and even health-related choices. Another fascinating aspect of the paradox is its relevance to ongoing discussions in the fields of probability theory and decision theory. It highlights the complexity involved in aligning subjective beliefs with objective probabilities, and poses a challenge to traditional models that assume purely rational decision-making processes. Ultimately, the paradox of the lottery serves as a powerful reminder of the profound influence that hope and personal belief exert in shaping human behavior. Despite the cold, hard statistical odds, individuals' beliefs and emotions play a pivotal role in their decision-making processes. By grappling with this paradox, we gain a deeper appreciation for the intricate and often surprising relationship between probability, belief, and human behavior. In conclusion, the paradox of the lottery offers a captivating exploration of the tension between personal belief and statistical reality. It challenges our conventional understanding of probability, decision-making, and human psychology, providing valuable insights into the complex ways in which we perceive and respond to uncertainty in our lives.